We're just gonna ignore the fact that I forgot to update the score, but while I do that, great time to get started and get into things. We got a big day ahead, and yeah, going to be recapping IVL finals. So we're taking a bit of a back step. You know, we have been going over there we go. We have been going over the COA qualifiers. This is from before that. So we're backtracking a little bit today. We're going to go back to IVL finals with GG versus Wolves. But these are both of these teams have qualified for COA. Let's get that out of the way. Both of these teams qualified for COA by getting to IVL finals. It's a similar situation as Zeta and Scars. Those both qualified via getting to IJL finals. So these are teams that we haven't seen since the fall. And we haven't seen them in quite some time. I believe, yeah, this was streamed 3 months ago. So we haven't seen these teams in 3 months. Which means that we're going back to old meta. This is 3 months ago, wasn't that long ago, but this was pre-Opera Singer nerf. This was, I believe, the first time that Aeroplanus and Cheerleader were introduced to the tournament stage. Gamekeeper wasn't meta yet. That's the big thing. Gamekeeper was not meta yet. We were still kind of figuring out, you know, what comes after the Opera Singer nerf. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. I'm going to get things started. And yeah, so for just to give us a brief overview, it looks a lot fancier than it does usually. This is because it's the finals. But big dramatic intro here for GG and Wolves. So first we're going to look at Xiaoma, who is the GG primary hunter, and Choai, who is Wolves' primary hunter. Now, Wolves, this is Choai's first season, or not first season, but like first competitive season being Wolves' primary hunter. Previously, Wolves had Alex. Alex then, I believe, retired and then was re-situated to Weibo, who we will be seeing later today, actually. So that's something to look forward to after we get through this match. But going through the players here, it looks like we're looking at 11, and I missed who we were seeing from GG, but that will be something that we can circle back around to later. Yeah, for okay, that was Fulan from GG. We're going to Kuchao from GG. And it looks like... yeah, that is 487. 487 is a very, very well-known survivor. You may have heard his name before. If you haven't, he is one of the top harassers in the entire game. He was one of kind of the first professional survivors to really bring the Prospector to the main stage. I think he also brought Cowboy to the main stage a couple years ago. I think in was it COA 5 finals? It was either COA 5 or COA 4 finals, I want to say, when 487 was talking about Cowboy, bringing out Cowboy. But yeah, I mean, there is so much power on both of these teams. Both of these teams are COA champions. GG won COA 4, Wolves won COA 5, so it's not surprising that these were the top teams coming out of IVL Autumn, and that these were the first two teams from China to qualify for Call of the Abyss at all. So, and very, very well deserved at that. So yeah, very exciting. And I'm very excited personally to see how they've adapted, because again, we haven't seen them since this. This was 3 months ago, and I'm going to keep repeating that just for the sake of people who are just getting here. So if I sound a little bit like a broken record, that's why. But it's important to reinforce, this was IVL Autumn, but this is the last time that we were able to see GG and Wolves on the competitive scene. Same goes for Zeta and Scars. They qualified for IJL. They qualified for COA during IJL Autumn, so we haven't seen what they're doing with the new meta. We haven't seen what GG and Wolves are doing with the new meta. So that's something to keep in mind as we go through this, and also as we, you know, kind of think about what we have in store for us coming into COA. Wolves is actually in, or again, I guess, they are in the same bracket as before you. So that's also something to keep in mind. Yeah, the giant cat. IVL Autumn was Ann-themed. They always pick kind of a cast of, they pick a game, quote unquote, with survivors and hunters. The hunter happened to be Ann. So the giant cat has been making an appearance, or had been making an appearance, through IVL. I think the cat did show up on some of my streams back when IVL was happening, but that was, 3 months ago at least. So yeah, but the production value of this is insane. It's really, really just crazy. I think they're probably they're gonna play some kind of intro here. So I am going to skip forward to the main event, which is in quite some time. You can see that. Okay, so they did actually go through the characters, the survivors and hunters there, but we're just going to let that go. We're gonna go through kind of as we go, because going through these players, their preferred characters, their mains, but for both hunter and survivor, that's changed. Once again, this is at the I think Cheerleader and Aeroplanist had just been made available here. If I'm remembering correctly, we're gonna find out pretty soon. Pretty quickly, we're going to find that out, but yeah, this is an earlier stage of the tournament server and the tournament rules than we're working with now for COA. So that is something to keep in mind. That is also something to say, how are they going to kind of respond to these changes? And how are these teams going to adapt coming into COA? Because they're at the top. They're at the top of all of their brackets. These are, again, former COA champions returning at the top of the league. Just incredibly formidable. But getting into the first round here, we're going to have GG hunting first with Xiaoma, and Wolves surviving first. And something else to note is that I'm pretty sure, at the very least, both Xiaoma and Shoai are the primary hunters for their team. I think they have sub-hunters, but they will be, this is a best of 5 match. So I should add another row to that scoreboard. I'll do that in a bit. But this is a best of 5 match. But enough of that. We're seeing our first 2 picks come in, and that is going to be a Gardener and a Painter. Painter was actually picked quite a few times, not just during IVL, but also during IJL, and I believe quite a few times during qualifiers. So Painter has been maybe a little bit less so recently, but I would say we are looking at potentially Painter coming back into the meta. He kind of had a little bit of taste of Painter meta in IVL, IJL. It's a little bit phased out once Aeroplanist and Cheerleader really kind of cemented themselves. But yeah, Painter has been a pretty popular pick, and it's fun to see. I'm actually going to go ahead and scooch that over a little bit so we can see the final band there. But that is going to be Seer. Yeah, so Explorer, Patient, Antiquarian, and Seer for our bands. And we're going to have a pretty strong team comp here. We've got Gardener, Psychologist, Mercenary, and Painter. And it feels very, very throwback here. It's been quite some time since we've seen kind of that Psychologist first round pick. We're still at this point, IVL Autumn. This was when kind of the no borrowed time, multiple tide turners on a team, just tank as many hits as possible, and try to get one man out against Opera Singer. This was back when the scale was shifted, so the Opera Singer is the rock on the side of the seesaw, and the survivors are being launched into the air. I'm not sure if this visualization makes sense to anybody except for me, but the difference is that the survivors now have become the rock, and Sangria is getting launched into the abyss. So that's where we are now. But here, this was I think Opera Singer had been nerfed once at this point. If at all, I guess we'll probably, or I might be able to tell once we get into the actual gameplay, because we are going to lock in that round 1 Opera Singer. Very, very much not a surprise. Opera Singer did and does still have kind of the most chance of success coming into a round 1 match, and it is also very likely the only chance that you will get to play her before she gets banned. So that is also something to keep in mind. And I forgot that with Yeah. Spawns just aren't going to be a thing, but it does look like we're going to be spawning closest-ish to the Painter, so I would say if I'm visualizing this right in my head, it looks like Painter is at 4th stop here. And yeah, Painter is going to be at 4th stop, possibly the first chase. Now that's both good and bad for Painter. Oh wow, you can see over there somebody's cosplaying the GG mechanic skin. That's always fun. I do love it when COA champions play because it means that their personal skins can come into play. But yeah, looking at the Persona whips here, we are seeing that double tide turner situation with Gardener and Mercenary. Gardener also doesn't have borrowed time. Instead, she is carrying broken windows. So that is also something that was very, very typical just a few months ago. We're seeing now a lot more focus on broken windows, a lot more focus on not bringing a double tide. Just bringing 1 tide, maybe 2 tides if you're worried about it. But survivors have gotten much more confident against Opera Singer in later months, and I'm excited to see how that impacts Wolves and GG survivors, kind of coming into the round 1s of COA. But all of that said, heading into round 1 here, GG versus Wolves. Once again, this is being restreamed from IVL Autumn. So this was 3 months ago. We're looking at a much faster Opera Singer than we have now. You know, this is basically pre-nerf. I do think that her speed was nerfed slightly at this point. I think she has a very slight speed reduction, but it not nearly to the point where we will be seeing coming into COA here. But Guagua is going to be our first chase, and yeah, I mean, that is not the best area for a Painter to get caught in. We do see that we have Xiaoma's appearance here, and we are going to place the painting, and Xiaoma just getting caught right in the corner of it. Nicely done. And Guaji is just going to continue this containment over into the walls right around the 3rd stop. This is just such a good kiting area, but we are using a lot of pallets here. And oh, Guaji just going to get hit right through that pallet. A little bit unfortunate there. We are seeing that the Opera Singer's hitbox, or the Opera Singer's hit is still very, very fast. And that's going to be our second painting here. Cypher's looking very healthy at this point. And yeah, there's just a lot of room to contain this containment. 4th stop is such a strong area, especially when an Opera Singer isn't quite on her game. We see a lot of patient over at 4th stop on Moonlit against Opera Singer. Some Aeroplanist as well, kind of in the later stages. But Painter, honestly, not doing a bad job here at all. We're looking at 4 ciphers remaining, nearly 3 ciphers remaining. We are going to go down here. One unfortunate thing is that both paintings were used, so Guaji is not going to have any resources to work with for a rebound kite, but we do have a little bit of support that can come in from the Gardener bubble. We can also use Psychologist as a supporter, and obviously Mercenary, very, very solid rescuer. It does look like Xiaoma extending here, trying to catch Jelly at the Cypher, and is bringing Abnormal. This is a strategy that we don't see as much nowadays. I do think that Xiaoma coming into COA will probably be bringing Blink, but Abnormal Opera Singer kind of was the way of the game back in the day. Now, it's a little unfortunate that Xiaoma has Abnormal here just because 3 ciphers are remaining. First 2 ciphers weren't able to be disrupted, and because the Abnormal only really was able to be used after 2 ciphers had already been popped, the effectiveness of that Abnormal, it's already been reduced, and it only took about, I think it takes 50% maximum off a cipher, but that cipher had already been at like 60, 80%, I think. Yeah, so it did not take as much progress off of the cipher as would have been ideal. We're nearly at accelerated decoding, so that's going to be a very big help here for Wolves' cipher rush as well. But right now we're just going to let Painter sit on chair. The thing with Painter, and the reason why I think that Painter is kind of underrated, honestly, and should be used more in tournament comps, especially with coordinated teams, because Painter ignores half chair. And we are going to see 487 coming in for the rescue here. We do have Tide Turner to work with. They're just going to go ahead and farm Guaji off chair, but Painter still has a chair remaining, and this is going to be huge for Wolves heading into the later stages of this match. We're going to see in a couple seconds accelerated decoding. Yep, accelerated decoding is kicking in now. So that decoding progress is going to be increased by quite a bit. I think the number that we came up with yesterday was 25%. Haven't fact-checked that yet. I haven't had the time. But if anybody can confirm that, I'm operating under the assumption that we're at a 25% speed boost here, which with one cipher remaining at 50%, even with, okay, no, that was a second share, my bad. But yeah, I mean, that is the thing with Painter that you can utilize in a coordinated team very, very well, is that ignoring half chair mark. It means that Painter can spend more time on chair. It means that Embalmer can be huge. A strategy that I've kind of thought about in my head for a very long time is Embalmer and Painter combination, but that is beside the point. We're looking at one cipher remaining. It looks like Wolves is going to be a little bit cautious here, opening up a brand new cipher. 487 not hiding, looking in a chest here, trying to find an item as Xiaoma approaches, but we have the entirety of God Kite to work with. 487 accidentally running out there. It looks like we only have a syringe, so that's a little bit unfortunate. We didn't get something like an elbow pad or a perfume. Even a decoy would have been very helpful. But 487 just going to activate the bubble here. Xiaoma waiting it out, trying to win this mind game, but it looks like not quite able to get the hit in around the pallet as the bubble pops. And a beautiful pallet stun from 487. Once again, 487 is a force to be reckoned with here, but unfortunately just going to get caught out inside that pallet. Final cipher is looking at about 50%. A little bit unfortunate that they weren't able to return to the cipher that was already at 50%, but as you can see, it did not take very long to get another cipher as far as possible. We no longer have a tide turner on the team, so that is going to make things a little bit difficult, but because this is 487's first chair, Wolves can just go ahead and wait for the cipher to be primed to rescue. Jelly coming in the area. Has crows? Something happened here in terms of their decoding, but that cipher is nearly primed from the mercenary at that. And with the trajectory of that cipher, it does kind of look like that is a 25% decoding increase. So I think that estimate was pretty correct. But yeah, 487 is just going to get rescued. Xiaoma going for the hit. They're not going to pop just yet, though. Waiting for something. It looks like, yes, Xiaoma going to take the hit on the bubble, and that cipher is going to pop. Heading into the 3-man endgame here, and 487 just going to get terror shocked off of the coaster. That is a little bit unfortunate, but we were looking like a draw situation anyway. Now, this could actually be more than a draw, depending on how Wolves is able to play this. They have reached the gate. However, Xiaoma has teleport, or can switch to teleport, is going to do exactly that. 11 taking the chase here, but it depends on where Jelly is on the map. Jelly is quite a ways away, but if Jelly is able to reach 487's chair on time, this could be huge. Unfortunately, 11 just getting a little bit caught at the gate there, not quite able to get out of the way. And is going to go down. That gate is at 40% progress, but Jelly able to make it across the map in time and save 487. And this is where things get a little bit hairy for or more hairy than they already were for Xiaoma. Xiaoma was on a pretty solid draw trajectory, almost a win there with that switch to teleport. Unfortunately, 487 being rescued here does kind of put this back in the direction of a draw. If that, the main key to going against an opera singer, first the Cypher Rush, obviously, and that first kite from Guaji really made a dent. But forcing Xiaoma to overextend here. We're working on two opposite sides of the map. 487 is going to go down and will be dead on chair in this situation. Unfortunately, did pass half chair mark before Jelly was able to make it there. But 11 is still sitting on chair, and that gate is at 40%. Xiaoma has 10 seconds to teleport. I think that may actually be in time. We've got 8 seconds. Xiaoma heading for the gate. It's going to be close. We're at 98%, 99%, hitting the mercenary instead of the psychologist, and detention has run out. That is going to be a draw despite Xiaoma's best efforts. That is just a little bit unfortunate there, that Xiaoma wasn't able to make it better than a draw. However, a draw is still a draw. And a draw in round 1 is not a bad thing. You know, that is it's an average result. You have neither team gets a lead, but also neither team gets neither team gets the advantage, but also neither team gets the advantage. It's a very, very neutral result, and overall, you know, it is kind of the ideal situation from a hunter perspective, because you're not losing. As long as you're not losing, you're doing fairly well. But yeah, let's see. We're actually gonna go ahead and, well, no, because I didn't do it for Wolf, so we're not going to do that. Finding my timestamp here. Yeah, that's close enough. But yeah, I mean, Opera Singer, the way that we're looking right now, I would say Opera Singer, as was here, will be again, and will continue to be Opera Singer as kind of that hard round 1 meta, unless something crazy happens. I don't think... My main thoughts on Opera Singer being round 1 meta is that even if she has been nerfed, she is still, for Opera Singer mains, I think that she is still the most viable round 1 hunter. For non-Opera Singer mains, it really, really depends, because Opera Singer is so difficult to play, especially on mobile, from what I've heard. I don't know if she's actually easier on PC or not, but her controls are weird. And that is kind of the learning curve to playing her. Now that she's been nerfed, that's also a learning curve to playing her. So, you know, it really depends on whether the hunter knows how to use Opera Singer or not. I think more so than it did back here. A lot of hunters were just playing Opera Singer because she was the top of the meta. Nowadays, we're seeing that kind of come back to bite a lot of hunters now that the nerfs are really starting to show themselves. And also the survivors are devising new strategies to go against her. We're seeing weirder and weirder team comps. We're seeing more and more variety in the meta, in, you know, kind of these personalized efforts to combat the Opera Singer. So with that in mind, I would say we're going to be still seeing Opera Singer, maybe not as a dedicated round 1 hunter as she was here. You know, I would operate, obviously, GG is operating under the assumption that COAVII is going to play Opera Singer. COAVII is very, very likely going to play Opera Singer here. We're banning Gardener, Explorer. Those are 2 very typical Opera Singer mains, especially on big maps like Moonlit River Park. Explorer is so hard to keep track of. And just the last thing you want as an Opera Singer is Cypher Rush. We saw that happen to Xiaoma just a few moments ago. Cypher Rush and Overextension, and Overextension is what allows the Cypher Rush to happen. Those are the Opera Singer's 2 biggest enemies, and that is exactly what these survivors are going to try to do. We have a very, very strong lineup here with Embalmer, Psychologist, Mercenary, and Patient. Patient, I would say, is going to take that 4th stop spawn. Mercenary, not the ideal rescuer here, but we do see that COAVII was able to ban First Officer, so Mercenary coming in his place. Psychologist as well is just a tank. 3 hits by default, wastes a lot of time, especially in the early stages of the match. She has nothing else to work with, but the distance heal as well can come in handy if she happens to not be chased first. And Embalmer is always, always good for getting an extra escape out the gate, or at least keeping survivors alive long enough to guarantee a tie. That is, you know, bare minimum, GG wants a tie. Maximum, they win. You know, maximum COAVII 4Ks, etc., etc. But aiming for a draw here, it's safe. It keeps things in line. You have 5 rounds to work with, which gives you a lot more freedom in what you do, than you get in a best of 3. Best of 5, it gives you at least 1 extra round to kind of turn things around. Up to 5 plus overtime. Best of 5s can get crazy, especially when it comes to finals like this. It really, really comes down to the wire, to which team is able to come out on top. But getting into the spawn selection here, it does look like we are going to see that classic Patient at 4th stop situation. They have a much better angle on it this time, that I really appreciate. We're going to see Embalmer in 2-story, Mercenary over at the bridge, near Broken Carousel, and we're going to see Psychologist at first stop. So overall, a very, very traditional spawn point. I would say, yep, we're going to see Cho-Ai spawn right in the middle of the map there in perfect position to honestly maybe go after the Mercenary. You know, I did spend a lot of time yesterday talking about not chasing the Rescuer first and the consequences of that. If you missed yesterday's stream, it's both up on my YouTube and also still up on Twitch for the time being. But it'll be up on YouTube forever. So, yeah. But yeah, if you missed that, I went over, I believe it was, Do5 versus ZS.Lin, and GR versus FPXEQ. So that was a bunch of fun matches. Go and check that out from yesterday if you want. But don't do that yet because we're still on today's stream. So second half of round 1 here. Cho-Ai coming out as Wolves' Hunter. Anyway, and GG Survivors coming on stage for the first time today. So very, very exciting. Again, pretty much a blank slate here. Worst best case scenario for both sides is going to be a draw. Playing for more than that, obviously, going to be good. But as we are now, they can take their sweet time with establishing a lead, if it comes to that. But we are going to see 18 immediately getting that coffin out on the field, and it looks like Cho-Ai is going to go ahead and go for the Patient. Now, Patient is very, very strong in this area, but Patient can also trip up, and that is what Cho-Ai is going to be hoping for here. Going to double back and use the decoy to try and box Patient in. PB using the first of 3 hooks to get a little bit more distance. We're going to get our first hit in there. Nicely done from Cho-Ai, and we are really seeing this pre-nerf Opera Singer action. Cho-Ai misstepping a little bit there. We're going to send the dash into cooldown, unfortunately, but back in a second, and Cho-Ai is right back to dashing around the map. And yeah, pre-nerf Opera Singer is really something to behold, especially when you have been watching a lot of competitive with post-nerf Opera Singer, and then progressively more post-nerf Opera Singer. PP getting caught just at the end of that. Unfortunately, the hook was in cooldown, so he wasn't able to utilize that to get just a little bit more distance. Not a bad first chase, but definitely a little bit short, especially after what Guaji was able to accomplish in the previous match with the use of both of those paintings. Having that hook to work with is going to be good for a redemption kite, but leaving the first 3 ciphers at around 50% when getting chaired is not... It's not great. It's not great. BB is going to take a hit right away, but with... It looks like 18 actually was able to make it there for that rescue. So yeah, having the Mercenary still on the field, uninjured and able to come in for a rescue after PP goes down again is going to be very, very good. A lot of times, teams that carry double tide will have somebody else go in for the first rescue just because the Hunter is going to have more presence. Now, this isn't as big of a deal against Opera Singer because she's not presence-based in the sense that she can do more damage with additional presence, but she is still more dangerous. When she has max presence, she has a lot more mobility, which can be very good for catching a Mercenary or catching the survivor who is going to come rescue, way, way away from the chair and being able to double back and get that double hit that way. Mercenary is a safer rescue, to go against Opera Singer. Not a great container, but a very solid rescuer, just because of the fact that he can take 2 hits and remain standing. So it does look like Kuchao is going to take his time coming in for this, but is just going to go ahead and get that clean rescue. Nicely done. PP does have Flywheel and Broken Windows to work with here. We're going to use the last of those hooks to try and get through this area. Unfortunately, Flywheel just not going to come out in time, and PP is going to go down. We are looking at pretty healthy ciphers, though. We've got our last 3 ciphers remaining at about 60%. We've got one at reaching 90%. That one's likely going to pop by the time that PP is chaired. And final cipher, or a final cipher here, at around 90%. Accelerated decoding is going to kick in about 15 seconds. So we're not even at that yet, and we have 1 cipher remaining. That is not good here for Cho-Ai. Fulan playing very, very close to the sun there. Nearly getting Terror Shock off that cipher just to pop it. But yeah, with this trajectory, I would say they're looking at, oh no, they are looking at a 3-man endgame. 60% Cypher has been returned to, so that should be primed very, very soon. Choai looking to catch up with Fulan before that happens, but no, it actually looks like we're going to return to the other side of the map. Choai very conscious of the Cypher rush that's happening right now. At this point in the game, we do see that Choai is carrying Blink. Unfortunately, I feel like we're kind of past where that can be used. At this point, Choai is going to likely want to save it for an endgame switch to teleport. Possibly abnormal, but since there are 2 ciphers being decoded right now, that's not the greatest option in the world. But Kuchao is going to take a hit and go down here. Choai changing targets though, heading for 18 Cypher, which is nearly prime. Choai misstepping with the dash, unfortunately, going to get caught without the dash to work with. Approaching 18 here, we're going to double back, and that Cypher is just going to pop. Choai trying to head back for Kuchao in time. Unfortunately, it's just not going to be the case. Kuchao, though, does have elbow pads to utilize, but is just not going to be able to get them out in time. And that is going to be down. It's a little bit unfortunate. But Fulan's exit gate is already open. So yeah, okay. That could have been very dangerous there. I feel like if Choai had hit Fulan, I mean, maybe Fulan would have been able to crawl at the gate, but 18 getting caught in the open here. We do have a coffin, but it's not near the gate. That is not good. That is very, very not good. 18, unfortunately, just not able, because 18 ideally would have been able to make it to the chair there and rescue Kuchao, similarly to how Wolves was able to do that in the previous match. However, that's just not going to be the case. 18 is going to get caught out, and that's going to be a 3-man elimination here for Wolves. So they are going to decisively win round 1, which those matches were almost perfectly parallel. You know, you have someone containing for the first 3 ciphers. You have the last 2 ciphers going very, very quickly. I put that in the wrong order. Give me 1 second. There we go. But yeah, it's very close. That was very, very close. And we are seeing, you know, these are such evenly matched teams. And that's kind of the big thing when you get to the final stages of this. There's a reason that the 2 teams to emerge on top, and that's because they are the best. When you put the best against the best, that's what happens, you know? You end up with these incredibly close matches. That match, I'll see. I don't think they're going to show us the graph like they do. Oh, no, maybe? No, we're not going to have a graph here, but I would wish we could see the graph, because the trajectory of those ciphers, you know, it was parallel to, yeah, it was parallel to the Xiaoma match. It's just, it's fascinating to see how these survivors work. We're going to see, like, over 200% decoding on 2 of the survivors on this team. Psychologist and Embalmer getting almost 260% decoding. I mean, having the Cypher Rush be that spread out and still able to get, or not able to get, I feel like that also contributes, to how the match went, but GG had good Cypher Rush. Embalmer getting caught out in the middle was really the make or break of that. Embalmer could have embalmed Mercenary. Of course, that does depend on whether or not Embalmer had Mercenary's appearance. Ideally, Embalmer would have Mercenary's appearance. I would say that the fact that Mercenary wasn't embalmed was the fact that Embalmer didn't have the appearance, but yeah, it's just a little bit unfortunate. It always is unfortunate seeing teams get kind of tripped up by having an Embalmer on the team. But yeah, heading into the second half here, Wolves has the point advantage. Now, again, best of 5. Anything can happen here. having a lead in the first round, especially by just the slight margin that is, just by 1 point here. We're looking at 2 points here. We're looking at 3-5 as the score. But that's pretty much no margin at all. And that can switch tides in just one round. And we could possibly see that happen here. But getting into it, we've got Seer and Priestess as our first two bans from Choai, and we're going to see a Gravekeeper and an Entomologist. And this is it's somewhat unexpected. However, Choai is a clown main. Through and through, Choai is a clown main. Also plays Nightwatch, and a few other hunters, but Gravekeeper being GG's first pick here says a lot. It is interesting, though. Gravekeeper's generally a counter for Disciple and Hermit. Also Naiad, I believe. Does Choai have a Naiad? I actually don't remember. But, I mean, Entomologist is fully for that clown. Yep, we're going to see the clown showing up here as well. Choai is known for his clown. And I would not be surprised, or I am not surprised that GG is immediately trying to counter that. But I would not be surprised if now that the Entomologist is permanently banned, though. Yeah, so what GG's strategy here is versus the clown is to select the Entomologist first. She is going to be locked. However, later rounds give GG multiple hunter bans. You know, this is the only round that you only have one hunter ban. Obviously, they need to ban Opera Singer. They can't ban Clown yet, so they're going to counter comp the Clown, make it impossible for Choai to play Clown in any way that is confident. And then post this, yep, exactly, they can ban Clown in every round after this, which means that Choai is not going to be able to play Clown, which is a little bit unfortunate. I think that there was actually a thing where, was it, actually, I don't remember who it was, but I know it might have been Choai, actually, who wasn't able to select, anything, or an accessory, I think it was, for IVL winner, but yeah, just was not able to select Clown because he kept getting banned and banned and banned because no one wants to play against Choai Clown, because Choai Clown is scary. And yeah, we are going to see the Nightwatch coming out here. The days of Nightwatch being picked. I don't even think we saw a single Nightwatch yesterday. There's been very few Nightwatches just across China qualifiers. Gamekeeper's really been taking Nightwatch's spot, so it's a little bit of a throwback here with that Nightwatch pick. Less and less and less we're seeing Nightwatch, which, you know, is due to those nerfs. I feel if a better hunter gets released, I feel like Opera Singer will go largely the same way as Nightwatch, really only brought out on very specific maps, if at all. But I don't know if they will release a hunter that kind of tops Opera Singer. Ivy could. The Shadow, I think, could. I mean, I've been referring to her as Ivy so much that I forgot that her proper title is the Shadow. But I feel like she might, but she's largely going to take the niche of Dream Witch a little bit more. So, you know, for Dream Witch mains, yes. For others, no. But it really does depend on what hunters. It's exciting to me because I feel like we are still getting powerful hunters. You know, nerfs dependent, but a lot of the utilization of those powerful hunters depends on the skill of the player. It's not like early Nightwatch, it's not like early Opera Singer where you didn't really need to master the character in order to play them at a tournament level. But we're seeing, you know, yesterday we saw hunters like even Dongshun is getting kind of tripped up by the current meta because you need to be in top form on every single hunter, and that's not something that's really had to happen as much recently. I mean, it always is the case, especially as you get up there and up there and up there, that you need to be at the top of your game all of the time. But more than ever, that is true for hunters because there's no easy hunter. And there are quite a few, let's say, easy survivors. But all of that said here, heading into round 2, GG is at the disadvantage here. Choai at an advantage, and also coming out of a 3-man elimination in the previous round. So a little bit of confidence here to start us off, but heading into the first half of round 2, we've got Choai heading into the center here, looking for, well, we are going to run into the Gravekeeper first, but I would say, yeah, we are going to change targets, heading kind of in the direction of Psychologist, unless Choai gets a little, not quite in the right direction yet. But we are looking around. We do have that Tinnitus, looking for 18 here, and we are going to catch sight of the Psychologist. That is going to be our first chase here. Not a bad first chase, especially for a Night Watch. Night Watch is very, very presence dependent. Having someone who takes 3 hits is annoying, no matter the circumstances. We are going to see Entomologist Bees coming into play here as well, just buying 18 a little bit more time. Time is the most important thing, because Night Watch can cut a chase relatively short, once he reaches full presence, and even against a Psychologist, once you get 2 hits, you get the Tempest Wind, which is much more powerful than the regular wind, and that's kind of the end of the containment. However, it requires 3 hits to do that in the first place. Choai does not have Insolence, is carrying Trump Card in Detention, and Blink. Blink is up though, so I would say Choai's strategy at this point in time is Blink down, and then use the Tempest to get the 3rd hit on Psychologist. But yeah, it's obviously like we are seeing those ciphers move very, very quickly. I don't think, apart from Gravekeeper, who only has a 15% decoding debuff, yeah, there's no survivor on this team with a decoding debuff, except for Coordinator, who only has a debuff when someone is chaired, which, as we're seeing, that's not the case just yet. Now, Choai does still have Blink and is going to be able to down 18 with a very nice Tempest there. Having Blink still is not ideal for GG, because that means that the moment 18 is off chair, that's going to be the rescue. Unless Gravekeeper is really able to body block, unless, PP Shot can come in with that gun. But it does look like, yeah, Gravekeeper is going to go for this solo, which is good for that Cypher Rush. We're about to see us reduce to 3 ciphers remaining with our second cipher completed. And our ciphers right now are at 80 and 30%, so really, really not bad here. And it looks like Choai is not even going to need to use Blink to get 18 down. We're going to see Kuchao kind of passing through the area, but there's not much an Entomologist can do, especially at that close of a range. Choai kind of acting like he's going to go back for Kuchao, but that's not going to be the case. We're going to instead continue on 18 here and go for that second chair. No Tide Turner is remaining in effect on the team. However, we do have PP Shaw as Coordinator, ready to come in to harass, and it does look like Coordinator is going to be doing this rescue. Does not have Tide Turner, but we do have Flywheel. We do have that gun, which can guarantee a rescue, especially since Choai is not carrying Excitement. Choai is not carrying Excitement and is also not going to switch to Excitement just for a Coordinator's gun. We're going to get the hit in on PP Shaw and just continue the chase. And PP Shaw coming through with the gun. Nicely done. Very close range to make sure that it's not going to hit a wall. And just getting right in the way there. Now, Choai does have both the dash and the wind to be able to catch up. Faking out the blink there, and PB Shot is just going to take the body block. Choai not even going to use the blink for a hit, just going to use it to get through those pallets without breaking them. And that is going to be a double down here. Now, we are at nearly 1 cipher remaining. GG Cypher Rush, once again, really solid, and very much helped by the fact that they really don't have any kind of decoding debuffs on their teams. Accelerated decoding is in effect as well, but Gravekeeper is going to be chased off that cipher. We do still have a shovel to work with. However, being injured here, we've got 2 survivors injured. Kuchao is the only survivor left at full health, and with about a quarter of those bees remaining. And we are going to see Gravekeeper is now using that final shovel. I do believe that we're going to have probably a 3rd shovel in play, if I'm recalling how the yeah, we're going to see, yep, there's the shovel has gone into cooldown. Choai turning around here was trying to bait XMX out of that shovel. Though, the one issue here, obviously we are in accelerated decoding, but what that means, Gravekeeper's very slight decoding debuff doesn't really matter. However, where it does matter is just the fact that the people who are decoding quickly are now decoding even faster by virtue of not having a decoding debuff. And XMX doing just a great job on this containment. This area is not good for Nightwatch. Especially when there's pallets dropped like that. We are going to be able to catch up here, but that Cypher is nearly primed already. Kuchao coming in for the rescue. Choi can't really comfortably leave to pressure the Cypher. He could possibly teleport, but that would just, the Cypher would just pop immediately. PP Shah still has Flywheel. That would be enough in an unused graveyard to get to a pallet and continue the containment. But Choi is going to get the hit in on Kuchao, or was that on the shovel, actually? I didn't quite catch that, but switching to teleport here, Choi going to get hit by the pallet, not by the trim, thankfully. There's a little bit of a scary angle there, and that Cypher is just going to pop here. Choi does have detention, so the full health survivors really isn't going to be of much use. And just an unfortunate misstep here from XMX, vaulting that window right into Choi. But the exit gate is almost open. This is going to be a draw, provided both survivors are at that gate. But it does look like Kuchao has been able to find an exit gate. But, PP Shah just barely able to make it out in time. And that is going to be a two-man escape here for that draw. Very, very nicely done. And that is the state of Nightwatch. Even on... Nightwatch is good on Ever Sleeping Town. I don't disagree with the Nightwatch pick here. However, Nightwatch is still a draw hunter, which is kind of just the state of every hunter in the meta right now, if we're being honest. But, I mean, yeah. It's not like there was another option because the survivors were kind of baiting that clown, looking for the clown, saying, go on, you want to bring clown, don't you? Against the entomologist, against, the gravekeeper, etc., etc. Come have fun or bring Nightwatch. You can guarantee a tie that way, which is better than a loss, but it is still, it's not a win. It doesn't really allow you any more points on your board, and it really leaves it up to Wolves' survivors here to either maintain the draw or not. Now, the problem for Wolves' survivors coming into this next round is that, and let me get forward first here, just a very, very smooth performance, and this is the beautiful thing. The beautiful thing about watching teams that are at the top is that you can see why they're at the top. Their matches do go in a very predictable and smooth way. And it's because all of them are just very, very good at the game. A draw is basically what happens when everybody is just that good at the game. Neither side can really gain any ground. But here is where it's going to get interesting for at least the strategic side of things, because Xiaoma is a breaking wheel main. Xiaoma's breaking wheel is pretty much the only breaking wheel that is still consistently playing in this day and age, post flywheel, post everything. Now, this goes two ways. Wolves obviously knows that Xiaoma is in the market to play breaking wheel. They can ban the breaking wheel. It's safer to ban the opera singer and counter comp the breaking wheel, but you still have to contend with either Xiaoma breaking wheel or Xiaoma opera singer, possibly Xiaoma Nightwatch, maybe, or any other hunter on the board. But breaking wheel is very good on Ever Sleeping Town. And it's just not, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and it does look like Wolf survivors are going to go ahead and ban the opera singer and possibly contend with the breaking wheel. We're going to ban Seer as well as Dancer. No Priestess ban coming out, even though this is Ever Sleeping, both in part because it would force Wolves to use the Priestess, or, Wolves is likely not going to come out with the Priestess first because she would be banned in future rounds, but also Breaking Wheel is not scared of a Priestess. Breaking Wheel has nothing to worry about with Priestess other than the global portal, but even then, a map like Ever Sleeping Town, there's very, very limited ways to use that global portal in a way that is in any way effective against a Breaking Wheel, because his mobility is just so good. And Xiaoma is absolutely just a master at maneuvering that Breaking Wheel. Wolves locking in Patient, Coordinator, and Mercenary. Going for, once again, we're seeing this tanky comp. And also, hello, Michi, thank you for joining. For our final ban here, yep, we do see Aeroplanist is available here, actually making his first appearance as a ban. Acrobat is going to be our final ban, and Lawyer to round out the lineup. And again, yeah, we're seeing here, Lawyer is still a very, very common pick. That's not something that we see as much nowadays, just because, you know, the only thing he can do is run fast, which is still very good. He runs fast, he decodes fast, but he doesn't have an active skill, which I think is why he's kind of phasing out a little bit of the meta. Teams are opting for other characters. Teams are opting to bring an Aeroplanist instead. Teams are opting to bring a Cheerleader instead. They have the speed, and they also have the support. Now, Cheerleader obviously has a decoding debuff, so you sacrifice that, but you sacrifice that for an infinite dash. You know, it's not that bad. in terms of, you know, worst trade deals in history, that is definitely not really breaking the top 100. And sure enough, we are going to see Xiaoma on the breaking wheel. Yeah, that is... It's not a given, but it's a given. You know, you see Xiaoma, you see breaking wheel. Because, you know, that's it's the one-to-one association, because Xiaoma is him. Xiaoma is the breaking wheel. And because Xiaoma, I think, like, other than, I think Yukakina played a breaking wheel match once. But other than that, there have been very, very few and far between breaking wheels, just because, you know, I would say Xiaoma is 3 kids in a trench coat, actually. But I think breaking wheel is adults, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're adults with dwarfism, but I'm rusty on my Will Brothers lore, and it's not like the game itself really does us any favors in making that distinction clear. But yeah, it's like I'm just waiting for more lore on them, and then all of the lore on them is pretty unclear. But yeah, breaking wheel is not my strong suit. However, looks like we are going to spawn. That's kind of an interesting spawn point if I'm reading it correctly, and I may just be reading it entirely incorrectly because of the odd hologram. But breaking wheel spawning in the bottom corner. Now, it doesn't really matter where breaking wheel spawns. Breaking wheel can kind of spawn anywhere on the map and just, you know, run. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I mean, where it's like the game itself doesn't make it clear, but there's also, you know, infantilization of people with dwarfism to keep in mind. But yeah, either way, breaking wheel aside, yeah, we are seeing confined space here, as well as detention and triple flywheel on those survivors. They are very, very prepared coming into this match. You know, again, you see Xiaoma, you see breaking wheel. I'm going to take the intro time to upload the score, and I do love the intro. I mean, the performance value, or not the performance, the production value of COA always just, or of IDV tournaments overall, but COA especially is just so fun. And I'm really excited to see the set design for main stage. They always pull out something crazy with that. Speaking of main stage, though, we're also going to be getting the character animations, which I am also very excited for. I don't know. I love COA season, you guys. I love COA season, but getting into the second half, we are going to head... Okay, yeah, looks like Xiaoma actually spawned closer to the graveyard than I thought. So heading right for the lawyer here with Guaji once again taking the first chase. Which is, you know, on one hand, you're chasing Guaji for a second time, and Guaji just kited you 3 ciphers. However, you are now Xiaoma playing the breaking wheel on Ever Sleeping Town. This is a very different situation than chasing a painter at 4th stop on Moonlit River Park. Xiaoma has the upper hand here, but Guaji doing just an amazing job here, kiting the wheel form and not allowing those spikes to go through. But it does look like Xiaoma able to get 2 spikes in, and unfortunately, that's going to be under a minute down here. But 487 in the area with the coordinator coming out with the gun just a little bit early there. Not quite able to get that balloon save, and that is not only going to waste time, but it's going to waste resources. Wolves coming out the gate, very aggressive, but Xiaoma meeting that aggression with just more and more. And the breaking wheel, just so overwhelmingly strong coming from Xiaoma. Jelly kind of playing around in this area. We aren't working with Tide Turner just yet, which is a little bit dangerous here, especially in the interest of allowing Cypher Rush. Coming in for the rescue this quickly. Jelly missing the flywheel as well, but... Ooh, and Jelly barely making that body block. Nicely done there from Wolves. Unfortunately, we're working with very limited resources from these survivors. And Xiaoma is going to bring out the blink to get that second down here on GuaGi. But just looking across the board, we're at 5 ciphers remaining, nearly 4 ciphers remaining, but we're almost 2 minutes into the match. And we have 4 ciphers started, but 3 of them are around 50%. Now, this is a situation that you can come back from. Coordinator, well, it's a situation you can come back from. However, and as we're seeing right now, Breaking Wheel has map control. Breaking Wheel has map control in spades. So being able to really work against Xiaoma's Breaking Wheel, we are going to see the rescue come off here. 11 taking a hit though, but this is where the snowball aspect of Breaking Wheel comes into play, because we have 5 ciphers remaining still. All of those ciphers are nearly popped. That's going to reduce to 1 cipher remaining very quickly, but Breaking Wheel has free reign of pretty much this, not only this entire map, but the entire map of where the ciphers are located. I don't think it looks like, 487 has just finished the cipher in Graveyard. That's pretty much the safest cipher that you can get against a Breaking Wheel. And it's already off the table. But yeah, GuaGi is taking off here. We're going to switch targets over to 11. Beautifully placed trap here. And just 11 not able to use the last of those elbow pads. And that is going to be a down. We've got 3 ciphers remaining now. Almost 2 ciphers remaining, but if you look on the screen, they haven't been able to return to that first cipher. That first cipher has been stuck at 92% for quite some time now. Xiaoma looking for the rescuer here. This is not a great area for Breaking Wheel, just because, as we're seeing, the gravestones get in the way. There's a lot more open areas on Ever Sleeping Town for Xiaoma to really get some traction, but 487 coming in for the rescue here. And just to note, Jelly is at 3/4 of the way health. As soon as Xiaoma approaches, that's going to be game over. This is essentially a 4-man elimination at this point. Unless they're able to really, really contain. But Xiaoma changing on to 487 here, just trying to get every member of this team at damage. And right away, Xiaoma switching targets, trying to disrupt that decoding that he knows is happening somewhere, but these survivors just aren't being given the chance to decode. They're not being given the chance to really recuperate. 11 nicely done with the elbow pad to avoid the spike there, but it's gonna be a little bit close. They're starting to push it in the other direction, I will say. They're getting a lot of good progress on those ciphers. Xiaoma risking overextension, but not quite. And a nice flywheel from Jelly, unfortunately not able to get out of the way of the fall hit. So Xiaoma will continue to just not have any attack recovery. And the basement is here. And this is a very safe basement share. We have 3 ciphers remaining. Both survivors are injured. Xiaoma has, again, free reign of the entire map. Ever Sleeping Town is a Breaking Wheel playground. It's, I would say, the best map for Breaking Wheel, just because, as we're seeing, Xiaoma can just freely travel to any of these ciphers, pressure the entire map while in wheel form. We're going to see 11 taking a spike there, but there's one cipher remaining and it is primed. There is 1 cipher remaining and it is primed. So we will be reaching an endgame here. With that, I would say that we will see a 1-man escape. Possibly a draw. Jelly has been rescued. Wolves can make this into a draw if 11 is able to keep Xiaoma contained. We are going to see a switch or not a switch just yet. We're going to see Blink used. Oh, okay. Trump card was not carried here, so Xiaoma was not able to switch to teleport anyway. That negates that tactic. However, Xiaoma can get to that gate in about, I would say, 10 seconds maximum. And we're going to see immediately Xiaoma's going to make that switch, but I don't think there's going to be quite enough time to make it to that gate. Yeah, that gate is going to be opened. Xiaoma, having tinnitus, knows that Jelly is here. Needs to be able to catch Jelly. Gate is open. 487... not hanging at the gate yet, is going to go ahead and head towards 11's chair. Jelly escaping the fall hit this time. But 487 is about to reach the chair here. If he's able to make this rescue, it's really just a matter of how... Again, we're working on how fast can Xiaoma down these survivors. And right now, it's going a lot slower than it needs to be. Jelly has been down finally with a nice basic hit there. But 11 kind of hanging out near the chair. Not heading for the gate just yet. Xiaoma aware of this, doubling back, trying to find 11 here. 11 is the best chase. We have about 25 seconds left in detention here, which is enough time to get a detention hit on 11. But it looks like, okay, we are going to be able to at least confirm 11 down. However, Jelly still hanging out in the middle of the map here. Hasn't quite made it to the gate, which is very, very dangerous. We do have Flywheel to work with again. We also have 2 hooks remaining, but it's very risky. Jelly missing the hook, getting caught in the trap. That's going to be a double down, but no, with the Flywheel. Are we actually going to be able to make it to the gate? Jelly caught in a trap once again, and detention has run out. 487 taking the body block here. 11 is going to probably not be able to self-heal out of this, and that is going to be a draw from what looked like it could be a 4-man elimination there at 3 ciphers remaining. Xiaoma just overextending the slightest bit. Wolf Survivors able to snag a draw against the top-breaking wheel. I would say worldwide. So that is just huge. And that really, again, the coordination from these teams is just incredible. And it's unparalleled, really. I would genuinely say, like, I am rooting for Wolves this year. I mean, it's so funny. I never counted myself as a Wolves fan because I never liked watching Alex. And I'm likely going to complain about this later, so bear with me when we get to Weibo. But Alex is a very, very passive hunter. Which is a problem for me because I don't like watching passive hunters. Most people don't like watching passive hunters. And the problem with Alex being a passive hunter is that in recent times, he's been doing better now. And I haven't really been keeping up with Weibo, so that's going to be kind of, new for me, returning to Weibo for the second match today. But yeah, I mean, because Gamekeeper meta has been doing really well for him, but that was why, because I judge teams first based on their hunter, and then I judge them based on their survivors, because it's easier to do that when you watch tournament because you're always watching from the hunter's perspective. So especially when I was first getting into watching tournament, you focus on the hunters. You learn the hunters before you learn the survivors, just because they're the ones on the screen. It's as simple as that. The survivors really need to work to stand out, but Wolves survivors do that. Wolves survivors, they made basically every mistake that you can make at the start of this match. Coordinator wasting the gun. Guaji going down in under a minute. About 50 seconds for that down and chair. Just every possible mistake that they could make, they made. But they were able to bring it back together. And I think that ability to kind of get their heads straight and continue and kind of cycle back around to success, that is the markings of a strong team. And they're always in the right place at the right time. And that comes down to just years of working together, years of practice. The only team that really comes close to this on NAEU is Before You, just because they're the longest lasting team out of NAEU. They've had a consistent lineup every single year. They've been working together forever. So but what they have is a shadow of, professionally contracted IDV players who spend the majority of their working lives training on this game together. Because I think that's an important perspective to have, and possibly the most important perspective to have when you watch tournament, is that these teams are paid. You know, they're contracted. And yeah, that is a really big thing, because Spencer has, we've heard that Spencer has been in talks to kind of move to China. He's been scouted by Chinese teams. In China, they refer to him as NAU Dongxin, or like, I think they call him Baby Dongxin or something like that. It's something along those lines, but it's very, you know, there's a lot of potential coming out of NAU. I really think, especially after NAU qualifiers, I think we really have started making a statement as a server, which just comes down to raw dedication, which is crazy. Just the fact that NAU is even able to stand a chance against some of these teams is incredible. But enough of that. I mean, you know, if anybody here, this is your first time watching me, if you've watched me a million times before, I will never stop advocating for NAU. And I repeat myself a lot, kind of just the nature of streaming. But I love NAU. And I want NAU to succeed. And I feel like a lot of the times, and I'm just talking here, so bear with me, but like a lot of the time, people kind of jump to degrade NAU. And obviously, you know, there's the mentality of like, I've seen these guys in my rank matches, they can't be that good. But there's something to be said for the dedication it takes to even get together to do this tournament. For any NAU team, you know, even the ones that don't perform as well, it's a feat in itself to get people who are dedicated enough to the game and dedicated enough to their gameplay to put together a team that is solid enough to go to competition. Because you think about it, you know, the logistics of running a team is not easy, especially when you're doing it with people who are just doing it for the raw passion and not for, you know, any sort of goal or any goal other than the love of the game. You know, overseas they have official they have official teams, they have official sponsorships. You get contracted to work for these teams as your job. You get paid to do this. Literally it is professional sports. And that's not me blowing it out of proportion. It is quite literally professional sports. The production value of COA is like this because it is professional sports. They wouldn't be doing all of this for just like, you know, underground Smash Bros tournaments. And I think that that's something that gets lost on a lot of NAU crowd. And this isn't me saying, like, you guys aren't watching COA, right? I don't, like, let me just put that there. I don't want to sound like I'm degrading the average NAU viewer. Because I understand where that mindset comes from. You know, you play this game in your spare time. It's a hobby. But I think I compared it a while ago. It's like, you know, you play catch in your backyard with a baseball and a glove. You know, you have a decent glove that you got from like, you know, an average sporting goods store. You have a decent ball, you know, and it's got like all the quote unquote professional branding on it. But, you know, it's a ball that you play catch with in your backyard, and that's a hobby. You would not go to the World Series as a guy who plays catch in the backyard. That's for professional baseball players. I don't even watch baseball, so I don't know why I'm using baseball as a metaphor, but it's the same kind of equivalent. Yes, it's the same mentality of people judging cooking shows and fashion shows from home. But I feel like the sports metaphor is like more on the nose because it's like, this is sports. But like, I feel like out of, you know, out of NAU, there's a lot of negativity, and kind of like, it's a shame of like, you know, playing esports is kind of something that we look down upon. I I had to add permitted term beat your ass. That's so funny. But yeah, it's very easy to kind of see the imitation of the game that you play in your spare time and think of it as like something that's whatever. But that, that's why I stream in the first place, and that's why I am so dedicated to this. Is Xiaoma okay? This really is. I wasn't really paying attention to the video, but like, this is very emblematic of. Oh, he got beaten up by the pet. That's so cute, actually. Wait, I love that pet though. By the way, if you guys didn't, I don't even know if it's gonna rerun, but like, I have that pet. I have the little GG pet. It's the cutest shit ever. It's so cute. But that's so funny. I was not paying attention to the video, and I was just like, oh. But yeah, that's enough of me yapping, even though this is kind of, you tuned into this to listen to me yapping, so like I can't really apologize that much. But let me just get ahead to where the actual match starts so that I'm not talking about nothing for increasing periods of time. But yeah, heading into round 3 here, there's not going to be a map ban pick, so I'm not too concerned about that. Yeah, all of that said, I will always advocate for NAU and also for kind of respecting NAU. Because NAU teams get a lot of shit just for existing, but just think about how hard it is to get your friends to rank with you, and try putting that on the scale of like, we should be practicing at the very least once a week in order to even hold a toe to these teams that do it 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. Like, they're working the full shift training for COA. Just the amount of time and effort that it takes for NAU to come close to this is crazy. But all of that being said, and I will definitely say it again, so, getting into the first half of round 3, Wolves still has the lead, and I do want to point that out. Only by 2 points. But Wolves still has the lead from round 1. So heading into round 3 here, if they're able to draw... No, I think they do have to win this because it's best of 5. Yeah, they have to win this because it's best of 5. If they keep up the draw, though, then they'll keep the lead, basically. But they are at the advantage with that 1 win of a round. They need 3 rounds to win, or at the very least make it impossible for GG to win 3 rounds. But anything can happen. It is not over yet, and it will not be over until it is very, very over. So that is enough speculation about the score. We're seeing once again the only appearance of the Aeroplanist is in the ban section. I feel like this should have been a sign. I feel like this should have been an early sign, because I don't think Aeroplanist was available in IVL. I might be wrong about this. I don't quite remember because it was 3 months ago. But I don't think Aeroplanist became available until the finals, much like IJL finals. But IVL did run for longer than IJL finals, so I'm not 100% solid on this. I would have to actually go back and check, and because this is the only IVL match that we are kind of going back and watching, I'm not going to do that. But, yeah. Point being that the fact that Aeroplanist has been banned before showing up once says a lot. But we are going to see, yep, that smiley ban is going to go through from GG. Really do not want to let COAVII play clown on Chinatown. And with that, we are going to see the Nightwatch come out once again, but all Wolves needs to do is draw. So Nightwatch is a fine pick here, because Nightwatch is a very solid draw hunter. You don't need to overachieve when you're in the lead. You can play it safe. And yeah, Nightwatch is really, really strong on Chinatown. I would say Nightwatch even has 4K potential on Chinatown. Which, I mean, if the me from 3 months ago was listening to me say that Nightwatch has 4K potential ever, I would have lost my head. But he really, I gave Nightwatch, I didn't give Nightwatch enough credit back in the day. I was so... And yeah, COAVII is to Nightwatch as Xiaoma is to Wheel. COAVII is a crazy, crazy Nightwatch. But I tend to chronically underplay Nightwatch just because I was so sick of Nightwatch meta, and then Nightwatch meta extending past Nightwatch actually being viable on every single map. So, but I've made my peace with Nightwatch once again. I respect Nightwatch. I respect Choai Nightwatch over anything. Because Choai is just that good. But Nightwatch in general, Nightwatch is solid on Chinatown and on Eversleeping. So this is not a surprising pick here. But GG does actually have a really, really strong anti-Nightwatch comp. Acrobat is basically a direct Nightwatch counter. Why? Because he can just bomb out of the way. He can just bomb out of the way, you know, end all be all. You bomb out of the way of the hit, you bomb out of the way of the wind, especially out of the way of the Tempest. The presence, or the half presence, kind of suck wind, which I try to avoid referring to it in that way, but, yeah, this is why I call it the Tempest, you guys. But, yeah, with that, Acrobat can just get out of the way, you know? Just it's the basic strategy of IDV is just don't get hit and you're fine. But that's why you see, you know, so much Aeroplanist, so much Patient. Acrobat as well coming into the meta because his entire kit just revolves around basically having a worse flywheel, but 9 or 6 times over, I think. Yeah, 6 times over. Plus, you know, rechargeable flywheel if Acrobat is carrying that. 18 does have broken windows here, which is not bad. Once again, you know, you keep enough distance, you don't get hit, you win. But Choai heading, you know, trying to kind of counter-rotate GG Survivors, but GG Survivors are already very locked in place here, and we've got 18 just trying to take this kite up at the top of the restaurant. Up at the top of the restaurant. I guess this is technically the antique shop if we want to be, like, very technical about it, but either way, yeah. As many years go by that I do this, we're passing a year just this month, of commentary, so yay me. I still don't know my Chinatown callouts. But 18 doing a great job. We're over a minute into the match here, and that was the first hit. Just to give you guys an idea of GG rotation here, our ciphers are looking pretty solid. Obviously, they're a little bit behind where they would be if everybody just started decoding right away, but they did that to rotate around where Choai was. So just very nicely done here. Choai trying to bait out the blink predict, unfortunately, just not going to happen. And with a successful blink, 18 is going to go down. That is just a solid 3-cipher kite. At the end of the day, you know, not much more than a 3-cipher kite, you know, it's just very, very 3-cipher kite, but 2 ciphers remaining here. This is ideal. This is, well, it's ideal in terms of GG still needs to push it past the draw situation into a win situation. We're going to actually see the AI win rate predict coming up there, but yeah, as we can see, greatest chance of a draw, with second greatest chance being a 3-man escape. Or I think, is that an escape? Yeah, that is going to be an escape, yeah. So Survivors do have the advantage here, just because the Cypher Rush. Beautiful stuns coming out from PP Shaw on the Prospector. Prospector is just such a strong character. We're actually seeing, we're seeing that flywheel come into play, so PP Shaw avoids taking a hit, is still free to harass, and where that one magnet, it looks like PP Shaw is just going to stay in the area, try to give tinnitus, but Choai is not afraid, knows that PP Shaw is not going to be able to make it to harass in time, didn't quite stick in the area long enough, and so, yeah, PP Shaw just going to take the time to recuperate more magnets. 18 on second chair here. But, alright, yeah, it does look like PP Shaw is going to come in for this. Not selling is good, especially since both ciphers are well on their way to being prime, passing 80 and 90% respectively. And, oh, PP Shaw just not quite able to get that stun in, but all is not yet lost as long as, yep, 18, very nicely done with that vault, avoiding the Tempest here, and not taking that vault either. Nice discipline here from 18. I don't think he's going to be able to make it through, but with a Terror Shock, he is going to get quite the speed boost heading into the late stage of this game. We've got a 4-man endgame here, which is absolutely incredible for GG. What a way to bring it back around. Worst case scenario here, draw. Like, maximum COAVII is in a draw position, which is bad because we're really, the longer that 18 contains here, the closer we get, and not the slow vault registering, and COAVII still not able to make that hit connect, making the hit connect here, but that gate is more than open. That's going to be a 3-man confirmed escape for GG, and that is such a statement to make in the third round. As an opening, you know, banning that clown, going, we'll take your Night Watch, and then that is exactly what they did. Just, you know, take the Night Watch in stride, and that is exactly what I was saying, where Acrobat is a Night Watch counter. Case in point and proven. But COAVII did get very, very turned around in the early stages of the match. That's a lot of why he was forced to chase 18. Yeah, just it's very well played there from GG Survivors, and that's exactly what we were just talking about with Wolves. Having these Survivors working as a unit, rotating perfectly around COAVII, not allowing him to chase anybody except for the Acrobat, who everybody knows, or everybody on this stage knows, now you guys know too, Acrobat counters Night Watch. And yeah, just so beautifully played there, because that really is the thing, you know. If COAVII had gone after Lawyer, is much more vulnerable. Going after First Officer probably would have gone, you know, relatively well. It looks like the commentator's having a bit of connection issues there. But you know, First Officer wouldn't have been a good chase. But you know, the Survivors don't want you to chase First Officer because you want First Officer to be, you know, able to come out later in the match. Prospector, not a great first chase, but also not a bad first chase because he only has 1 magnet at the start of the match. There's not much he can do in terms of harassment, as well as Night Watch just having enough speed to kind of cut those magnets off. We saw that briefly there, just for a moment, COAVII was able to kind of cut off the Prospector, but yeah, I mean, just such great work here from GG Survivors, and, you know, that's exactly what it is. It's back and forth, you know. The Survivors are good. The Hunters are really, really good, but the Survivors, you know, being able to work as a team, I was saying this yesterday as well, but being able to work as a team, Survivors have the inherent advantage because there's 4 of them. You know, if one of them makes a mistake, the other 3 can bring it back around. And having such a tight-knit team here, you know, getting a 3-man win, you know, if GG is able to draw the second half, they can tie this up. If they're able to win the second half, and this is going against Xiaoma on Chinatown. Chinatown, another map that is good for so many Hunters. Breaking Wheel very likely to be banned, but you know, everything else is on fire. Everything else is, you know, on the table. It's just GG has a huge advantage coming into the second half of this round because that's a morale hit, if anything. It's a morale hit because Wolves has been, you know, very steadily maintaining that lead, getting draws, allowing GG to get points. Not only does that give Xiaoma a boost, but that, you know, that's scary for Wolves Survivors. They know that it rides on them. And I mean, that is kind of, you know, the virtue of going in the second half of any round. And I'm actually going to go ahead and add round 4 here. Oops. R4 and R5. Yeah. So, for that, kind of reformatting the stream to fit the actual match. This is the only best of 5 that there will be in this series of streams. Everything else is best of 3, so much shorter matches up ahead. But getting into the second half of third round, Xiaoma with a chance to bring it back. We're going to see Seer and Priestess as our first 2 bans and Lawyer as our third ban. First 2 picks from Wolves are going to be Wildling and Female Dancer, which it's a little bit unconventional, but honestly not, especially being able to lock in this Antiquarian third. That is huge for Wolves here. Wildling is a risk. Wildling is a little bit of a liability heading into this match, but if we're looking at Night Watch, if we're looking at Dream Witch even, Wildling is annoying. Wildling is annoying to chase. Wildling is annoying to kite. Wildling can't decode very well. But with the help of the Dancer is basically a pocket decoder, with the boxes that she's able to use for support. And Aeroplanist Man, once again, is going to bring out the Psychologist. Psychologist with the distance heal as well can be so valuable. Just a very, very strong comp here. What can't Xiaoma play? Because I'm rusty on watching Xiaoma, and especially, coming into but current day meta, as opposed to 3 months ago. Just 3 months ago, meta was completely different. We barely see Psychologists anymore. Wildlings tend to be a death sentence regardless. Is that Brown? Oh my god. That's a Brown. That's so cute. But yeah, I mean, you barely see Psychologists. You barely see, you barely see Wildling, but yeah, we are going to see the Night Watch. Wildling's definitely good against the Night Watch. Again with that annoying to chase rhetoric. But Dancer so strong on Chinatown. Antiquarian, terrifying, especially on 487. 487, kind of the harasser to end all harassers. Being able to bring the Antiquarian to the table that is scary stuff for Xiaoma. But Xiaoma has kind of the boost here, even if you draw, which Night Watch can pretty much guarantee a draw. But even if you draw here, that's going to tie the points and bring you into round 4, round 5. Even with Wolves getting that early lead, there's ample time to turn it around and push things in GG's favor. So yeah, draw would be great here. A win would be stellar. A 4-man elimination, almost unheard of, but would be A, insane, B, that would be huge for GG. Now, what Xiaoma does not want here is to lose, which means that he will likely be playing a lot more defensively. Definitely, and especially with Night Watch 2, it's much harder to kind of bait yourself into overextending. Yeah, we're seeing a very aggressive Persona Web here from Xiaoma. We're seeing the Insolence detention. At this point, you can really still call that aggressive. Nowadays, that's more just standard Night Watch, because Night Watch is basically useless without presence. I do wonder, actually, if the Insolence buff is going to make it into COAVII, because that could be pretty big. Insolence was buffed recently. I think it was at the season turnover. But basically what it does now is, instead of previously what it would do was give you kind of a continuous presence boost until you hit half presence. Regardless of how you hit half presence, it would stop. Now it doesn't stop. So if you get, 1 hit, 2 hits in before Insolence is technically over, the remaining points of Insolence that you haven't yet gained are still added to the total. So this can be very big, especially for max presence based hunters like Nightmare, Night Watch, Hermit especially. The Insolence buff has been it's game changing in very subtle ways, but I hope that they add it to the global offline tournament. But heading into the second half of round 3, Xiaoma with a chance to even the score or possibly even turn things around for GG and put them in the lead. We're going to see our first box is placed. Dancer on the first chase here from... Who is even playing Dancer? Okay, yeah, Jelly is playing Dancer here. So Jelly on first chase, placing a second box here. This corner is so strong for Dancer because she can just use the pirouette to gain more distance. And having that box placed there is just very, very strong. Chasing Dancer around this area is dangerous. But Xiaoma able to get that first hit in here. We're seeing the AI win prediction pretty much even. Definitely not giving any favors in terms of that 4-man elimination, I want to say that is, but yeah, good Cypher progress happening so far. Jelly just getting pushed away, but we're going to see the flywheel beautifully done. Xiaoma just getting a little bit just tripped up in this corner here. Female Dancer in this area, and 487 coming in with the harassment. it's a little bit risky to come in with harassment here, especially since, well, we do have our first cipher popped, but I feel like maybe it'll be worth it. 487 missing the first stun, but getting the second one, nicely done. We did see Wolves does like to early harass. We saw this in the previous match as well, with the coordinator coming in a little bit too early. I would say maybe it's not too early. Dropping that pallet though, just to avoid getting hit. That's the important thing for 11 here, is that 11, or not 11. I was looking at 11's name. But that's the important here for 487. Important thing here for 487. I'm really good at talking. Oh, nicely done with the flip, but Xiaoma just very, very cautious here. Nicely done with the flywheel, but 487's running out of options to keep himself alive, and he is going to take a hit. That is not as good. Actually, no, it's completely fine because Psychologist can just remote heal. And yeah, we're just seeing kind of the strength of this comp here. 487 not quite getting healed just yet, but Wildling Tinnitus Disruption coming into play. 487 using that cover to make his escape. Again, communication. These survivors work as a unit. Wildling works to disrupt the Tinnitus. 487 works with the harassment, but is able to get out of the way in time. 11 taking a hit on the rescue, and that is going to be a very nicely done. Jelly is unfortunately going to take a hit, but I believe that was before half, and they will have a chance to go ahead and rescue again. 3 ciphers remaining. 2 ciphers remaining now. Both ciphers have been started. Cypher Rush is a little bit slow here. And I would say if Wolves is able to make a 3-man escape, then it'll be another tied round. However, it's not quite looking that way. I would say we're kind of on draw trajectory here. Their cipher progress is a little bit slow. We are starting to recuperate it though, and Shaman needs to be careful here to not lose track. Final cipher here heading towards 76, 80%. Nice pallet stun from Guaji, and that is going to be a successful rescue, and a very clean rescue at that. Beautiful blink though from Xiaoma. And 11 here to harass. Cypher is nearly primed. Xiaoma cannot pick up Jelly, because the Cypher, Cypher primed, and that is going to be a pop with a Terror Shock for the force heal. Wolves with a 4-man survivor endgame. They can definitely push for that 3-man escape here minimum. If they're able to 4-man escape here, then that'll put them in a huge lead. I believe that'll be probably 4 points. But yeah, Jelly is going to go down here. That will be a confirmed elimination. The gate is not yet open though, and it will not be open by the time that Jelly is shared. But Xiaoma with no charges stacked up on the wind, he's not going to be able to make it to the gate in time. We're going to see here Nightwatch's dash. Not quite the same that it was at the glory days of Nightwatch. Really just not going to give Xiaoma enough distance to even come close to that gate. That's going to be a 3-man escape here. And Wolves is going to maintain their lead coming into round 4. So yeah, tied round. But what we're seeing here is exactly what's happening with the meta. That's exactly what's happening just in this match alone, which is, you can use it as like kind of seeing how things are at the top. It tends to be a microcosm of how it is at the bottom. If these survivors are just, if both the hunters and survivors are just barely scraping by at the top here, but the survivors are still coming out on top, transferring that to more unbalanced teams, it really starts kind of showing this sort of structural weakness in the hunter faction. Because after round 1, you're able to get a 3-man elimination, in round 1. But by round 3, you're getting 3-man escaped. Why? Because the powerful hunters are all getting banned. And that does also speak to kind of the diversity of these hunters and their pools of who they can play. Not every hunter has a very wide pool, but that's why, hunters like Alf, hunters like Akka, hunters like Sprinter, and also, obviously Xiaoma, Choai, Dongshin to some extent, you have to learn how to play every hunter pretty much, or at least the majority of the hunter roster. And it's much more difficult to do that than to learn how to play a ton of survivors, because for survivors, it's basically the same. You just have to know how to rock height, bare minimum. As soon as you know how to rock height, you can basically play every survivor. Now, the next level of that comes to, can you play the survivor in the role that they're meant to be played with the skills that they're meant to be used? That's a whole other animal. But as long as you can rock height, you can 5-cypher kite as lucky guy if A, you know what you're doing, B, the hunter doesn't know what they're doing. But it highlights that skill inequality when everyone is in theory playing at the same level, and the survivors are still coming out stronger. Yeah, so everybody who says this game isn't survivor-sided, but the thing is that the game, the reason why the state of the balance of the game is kind of the way that it is because, the game still has to be balanced for solo queue. And solo queue, the hunter always has the advantage because you don't have that communication, which is why, the asymmetrical format works. I feel like it does kind of get recontextualized heading into a tournament setting, though, just because, automatically you have a 4-man team. And there's a bunch of hunters, Hermit in the Shadow specifically, but, Dream Witch. The majority of hunters on the roster, their most direct counter is a 4-man VC team. And these teams are 4-man VC. When you play at, and this is why, when you watch, NAU, you go, wow, these hunters are crazy, at peak tier rank. Why are they losing? Why are they losing in a tournament setting? It's because peak tier rank, you get duos. You're not allowed to team up as a 4-man VC. Obviously you can game the system at peak tier, but only to a certain extent. It's much more difficult to coordinate. It relies a lot more on inferred game sense, but these teams are able to not only coordinate between 4 survivors live, but they also have these dedicated strategies. They train for this. Again, they train for this. And that's, by no means an understatement in any way, shape, or form. But heading into round 4, first half, again, this can extend to round 5, so bear with it. But with a forward and antiquarian first ban, we're going to immediately lock in the Seer as well as the Mercenary. And heading into round 4 here, something to keep in mind is that the first 2 bans, that rule is gone. You can see the bar at the bottom is filled with survivors. No more survivors after round 4 get kind of blanket banned. So that is huge for best of 5 games. It's huge for any match that goes past 3 rounds. That comes into play, and it's huge. Wolves locking in the Prospector 2. Aeroplan is an interesting ban here. I honestly would be more afraid of the Prospector, especially with 487, hypothetically going on that Prospector. Shalma covering the base of the Antiquarian, but not covering the base of the Prospector, and that is going to be locked in. Now, Lakeside, that's a pretty good map for Prospector harassment. There's a lot of, odd debris on the ground that you can stun hunters against. We saw yesterday too that you can also stun Prospector magnets against other survivors and coordinated teams like this. That is very much possible. That's very much a reality. FBXZQ pulled that off yesterday to great success. But yeah, and for psychologists to round out the to lock out the roundup, I keep losing the order of my words. I'm very sorry. But yeah. And this is it's emblematic of the state of the meta as well. The fact that you can go through, there are a total of 10 survivors banned right now. That's roughly a quarter of the roster. I would say maybe it's less than a quarter now because we're over 40. I think we're more around 45 survivors, I want to say. Which is an insane number. But it's about, let's say it's about a quarter. There's 10 survivors banned. And you still have a hard meta team comp. You still have Prospector, Psychologist, Mercenary, and Seer out of 10 survivor bans over the course of 3 rounds. And every single round has been a completely viable team comp. like that the fact that that is possible is just insane. And actually, I'm going to rewind for a second because I didn't actually catch who the Hunter bans were. But yeah, Wolves is going to go ahead and ban Bon Bon, Opera Singer, and Breaking Wheel, and we're going to lock in the Wax Artist in response. But again, you know, the fact that you can ban you ban 3 Hunters, you knock out probably a real, you know, 60% of, let's say that a Hunter who is prepared to go 4 rounds knows 4 Hunters, you ban 3. That's, you know, that's 3/4 of the roster. But only 10 survivor bans against, you think about it, each survivor can basically play any meta survivor. And the amount of meta survivors at this point too, since the, you know, buffs, reworks, and new survivors have been added, meta survivors, quote unquote, takes up the majority of the survivor roster. And even then, you know, we've seen Journalist get picked. I wouldn't really consider Journalist meta, but she's been picked. I wouldn't consider, we've seen, I think, a couple matches with Little Girl. I think Little Girl was picked, somewhere. It might have been in NAU. NAU does like Little Girl a lot. But like Little Girl has been picked, and I wouldn't really consider her like tournament meta. There's so many characters that can be picked. And the survivor meta is always changing, obviously. I mean, Professor was quote-unquote meta last year, not really meta this year, which makes it really funny that they decided now to add him to the kind of lineup here when the rest of everybody who's, well, not Prisoner, but like, you know what I mean. But like, you can play Prisoner in tournament, and it's been, you know, mildly successful. Painter has been added to the meta very recently, or quote-unquote added. I mean, Painter was played in tournament, which doesn't really count as meta, but it counts as like, you know, anybody can be viable if you know what you're doing, as opposed to Hunter, God help you. But all of that said, round 4 here, Wolves still maintaining a lead by 2 points. But Xiaoma does have another opportunity to bring it back here. Again, you know, it's only a 2-point deficit. So if GG is able to perform, you know, bring it. But Jelly taking the kite here, nicely done with that pallet vault as well. You know, very good discipline, knowing when to vault, not risking the terror shock here. Unfortunately, going to reach 100% wax there, but we are chasing a psychologist first. But Xiaoma with the teleport right away. We also have Insolence coming in with that hit, and Guaji is going to take the chase. Of course, this is Guaji. On the Seer at that, but Seer is a much better chase here than a Psychologist. Psychologist takes 3 hits. Seer technically takes 3 hits, but it depends on if Guaji is able to get the owl in time, and even then, you know, it's much more difficult to utilize an owl when personally kiting against the Wax Artist than it is to assist kite. So nicely done here by Xiaoma, switching onto the Seer. It's a little bit risky, especially with how long that Guaji has been able to contain for, but it looks like we are just going to wait for that owl to leave, continuing to wax off Guaji, waxing off the window as well, trying to block this boat from becoming a very strong kiting area. And nice discipline around that pallet. Xiaoma winning the mind game there. Guaji just unfortunately not able to drop that pallet in time, or able to bait the hit enough to kind of catch Xiaoma in the pallet drop. Either way, that is going to be a down at about 2 minutes in. We are at 4 ciphers remaining, basically 1 cipher remaining. So Wolves Cypher Rush is just astounding to watch in real time. You know, we're 2 minutes into the match and we're basically 1 cipher remaining. Just absolutely incredible. And a lot of that is because of that teleport. You know, teleporting can be very good, but with teams that are used to the cipher progress, and as well as the containment that Guaji was able to do, it's just so strong. And especially in this situation, you know, they need to get as many escapes as possible. Xiaoma, interesting choice here though to go for the mercenary. This is kind of what Wolves wanted Xiaoma to do. 11 would not have stayed in the basement if he didn't want Xiaoma to stay here. I would say Xiaoma's strategy here is to try and go for a draw, but with one cipher remaining, we do have the mobility of teleport, and that's a big thing to keep in mind. Generally, it's very dangerous to chair in basement, especially on a big map, and especially as a low mobility hunter like Wax Artist. Wax Artist doesn't have great speed because he is a stun hunter, but yeah, I mean, it's generally very risky, but it could pay off here. Xiaoma playing around the stairwell. Both 487 and... Yeah, both 487 and Guaji are in the area. Guaji not... just kind of staying around, giving tinnitus, not really looking to take this chase unless it looks like we may be looking for another owl. Guaji getting a little bit close here. 487 also injured, but hasn't been shared yet. We're going to go ahead and stun Xiaoma for a moment there. Cypher is primed. We're working with the hot wax. This could be very dangerous. They're going to go ahead and pop it. And Guaji manages to get an owl. We're going to get a successful basement rescue. And 11 with the elbow pad to get out of the basement. Just what an incredible play here from Wolf Survivors. Guaji is going to get caught in basement. That I believe this is going to be a single elimination. Xiaoma does have teleport. Guaji not actually eliminated yet, still on second chair here. And that exit gate is going to be open. Wolf's other survivors are not at that gate just yet, but Xiaoma getting a little bit cautious here, wants to make sure that that exit gate's not being opened. All three Wolf survivors heading towards the open gate. Is Xiaoma going to teleport? Yes, Xiaoma is going to teleport. Jelly sitting in the open gate here, not going to get caught. Obviously, gate waiting is very dangerous, and we've seen gate waiting not pay off in tournaments before. But as we are right now, it is a waiting game. If Wolf survivors are able to scatter for long enough for Xiaoma to run out of detention, make a break for either dungeon or for the gate. 11 getting caught here. Kind of out in the open. Dungeon is in the area of 487's able to make it to the gate. 487 nearly at the gate, heading through the cornfield right now. 11 just needs to keep up this containment. We do have quite a few pallets to use. But with Xiaoma bringing out the hot wax, there's only so much a mercenary can take here, especially with the delayed damage. But we're going to see a 487 out the gate. Is 11 going to be able to crawl into the dungeon for a 3-minute escape? Yes! Down right over the dungeon there. 11 just able to get out by a sliver. And wow, it looks like things might be getting a little bit ugly there from Wolf Survivors. I don't know what 487 did that was bad, but I don't know what's happening with that. Maybe they're not as much. Well, things happen in the heat of the moment, but... And they were able to get the 3 minutes. I feel like that was probably just tension, because that was so close. I think what that may have been is that it took a good minute for Prospector to actually make it out the gate. But damn, wow. But I mean, this is finals, any points that they're able to give up there, could, come back to bite them. But yeah, just an incredible performance. Yeah, if Choi can get a draw, then that's immediately Wolves. Because they've been able to maintain the lead for, if they're able to get a draw in general, because let's see, let me just get the points in here. So it's going to be 1 point to GG, and it's going to be 3 points to Wolves. I'm going to put in the zeros here just as placeholders. But yeah, with that 3-man, result, obviously, GG could also 3 escape Choi, but yeah, I mean, what a match. Wolves, and this is what is so much fun to watch about Wolf Survivors, is that they play with the risk. They really play close with the risk. They drag the matches out. You'll think they're losing, and then all of a sudden that Cypher Rush just creeps up on you. And it's just so entertaining. But heading into the second half here, once again, if Choi is able to get a draw, that is going to be Wolves' victory. Now, I phrase this as if Choi is able to get a draw because survivors have the advantage here. So GG, they were able to get a 3-man escape last round. They're going to ban here very, very likely, I would say, Nightwatch, Nightwatch, Clown, and Opera Singer. Are very easy bans. Or leave Nightwatch on the table. Oh, it looks like they're going to ban Hermit and Clown. So yeah, not wanting to, Nightwatch is okay. But Nightwatch, as we just saw, is just not as strong as a Hermit on Lakeside. It's just a big, big map. There's a lot of kiting areas. Lakeside is deceptively difficult. And of course, I mean, Xiaoma really didn't do himself any favors with the kind of keeping the containment on boat. I feel like that was Xiaoma's biggest mistake. But all of that said, we're going to see our first aeroplanist of the day finally let out of the ban jail, at least for those first 2 survivors. GG finally able to lock in the aeroplanist and the Antiquarian. So this is already shaping up to be a very, very powerful survivor side. We're going to see Wildling as well coming in, so we're looking for a repeat of the previous round. And a little bit interesting here. I mean, I guess Choi is less scared of a Wildling than a Mercenary, because Wildling's not a problem. At all. In any way, shape, or form. The only time that Wildling is really a problem is, as we saw from Wolves. So, Yeah. I mean, the thing with we're gonna see Wildling and Dancer. But I feel like the heavy hitters on this team are going to be, I would say, PP Shaw on the Antiquarian ? Yes, PP Shaw on the Antiquarian. And 18 on that aeroplanist, because we're basically we're baiting, this is basically a repeat situation. What GG is looking for here is a repeat situation of 18's acrobat kite. If Choi is forced to go Nightwatch, which they're trying to force Choi to go Nightwatch, have 18 repeat the acrobat kite with aeroplanist, because you can do that. Aeroplanist and Acrobat follow. Aeroplanist, Acrobat, and Patient kind of run in a circle together. I would say a little bit more than Mercenary. I mean, Mercenary still kind of serves the same purpose. But in terms of containment, it's really Acrobat, Aeroplanist, and Patient kind of sharing more similarities. That said, Choi is going to go with a Naiad. Naiad, I mean, when you only need to draw Naiad is a good hunter. The problem is that you have to play Naiad very, very aggressively, and it feels, and I do, if I'm remembering correctly, Choi is a very good Naiad. But Naiad from Wolves kind of brings on the Alex flashbacks a little bit. So I would say it's not as risky as Nightwatch is the main thing. Naiad is not as risky as Nightwatch. You have a little bit of insurance of being able to water off entire areas, especially with Lakeside. I kind of started this thought and then didn't finish it. But Lakeside, the problem with Lakeside is that it's deceptively open. Because for every open area, there is a very strong kiting area, maybe 3 inches away from that open area. So if you can force the survivors to stay in those open areas, great. If you can't force the survivors to stay in those open areas, you're stuck kiting on Big Boat for the entirety of the match, and the survivors are able to 3-man escape you. By a toenail, but they're still able to 3-man escape you. So, yeah, that is, I would say, Choi very much looking for kind of that middle, possibly around small boat as well, would be semi-ideal, if not, open areas. Naiad is not terrible on Big Boat. She can water off the whole thing, but it's not, it requires a lot of bizarre layering that isn't very applicable to a normal match. But we are seeing Choi with another very aggressive persona web. We're looking at the Insolence Blink, as well as Detention, obviously. 18 and XMX both carrying Tide Turner here. It does look like they're wanting Aeroplanist to basically stand in for Mercenary with the use of that Tide Turner, but has significantly better decoding. 27% better decoding than Mercenary, because Mercenary has a 25% decoding debuff, and Aeroplanist has a humble 2% decoding buff, which isn't much, but it's honest work. So yeah, Aeroplanist kind of doing double duty here, actually, with kind of the strong kiting capabilities of 18, plus, you know, the rescue capabilities of the Aeroplanist. But all of that said and done, it does look like 18 is going to be our first chase here, which I feel like the main thing that Aeroplanist has as a disadvantage as opposed to a patient or an acrobat is the cooldown. We're seeing, I think it's like a 14-15 second cooldown on the jetpack here. We're seeing that approach about 5 seconds remaining, which obviously seems much faster here. We're about 30 seconds in the match, and 18 has the second jetpack up and immediately is going to use that. A bit of a misclick there, is going to accidentally jetpack into the wall, but this was, I think, very early into Aeroplanist existing on a tournament scale. So yeah, not too surprising that, and especially with the amount that he gets banned, you know, there is limited capabilities to really practice with that jetpack. But it's also just very unpredictable as it is, you know. It's easy to kind of point out Aeroplanist mistakes, but good Aeroplanists make it look easy. 18 taking a blink hit there, but forcing Choai to bring out the blink for the first hit. So that's not very ideal. However, Choai nicely done with watering off this area. 18 has nowhere to go here and is just going to go down. Nicely done with that cornering, and that's exactly what I was talking about with this small bow area. It's ideal for a Naiad, because what you want to do with a Naiad is just lock off each kiting area as you operate within it to either force the survivor to transition and catch them that way, or force the survivor to stay in the area and get water downed. And that's literally just perfectly according to plan for Choai here. So 3 ciphers remaining. Nice draw trajectory, especially with Wildling being forced to kind of dismount here, get the rescue. Nicely done, but just barely avoiding the double down there. 97% humidity on that Wildling. Going to use the Tinnitus to try and cover his tracks. Unfortunately, not quite going to go through, but PP Shaw with the Antiquarian. And 18 has so much support here for this rebound kite. No longer has any jetpacks, but with the Dancer box coming into play, as well as PP Shaw here for the support. We do have 3 ciphers remaining, and the main problem here with this strategy coming from GG is that they don't have the Cypher Rush. Now, we have seen that Cypher Rush is not necessarily, you know, the end-all be-all, especially with Wolves strategy. However, there's, you know, they're almost at 2 ciphers remaining, but their final cipher hasn't been started, and their penultimate cipher is only at 18% and hasn't yet been returned to. So if anything, we're looking at a draw. And PP Shaw with a beautiful balloon rescue there. 18 going down again. But as much time is being wasted here. If Wildling was in the area, maybe. But yeah, 18 on second chair here. They can, in theory... Here's the main problem. They can, in theory, extend this out. However, Wildling is decoding one of those ciphers. Wildling has a 30% decoding debuff. Accelerated decoding hasn't quite kicked in yet. We will be approaching that in about 5 seconds, so it's not long, but those ciphers aren't even at 50% yet, and that is, one of them is not Wildling. So yeah, with accelerated decoding kicking in now, we are seeing those ciphers kind of pick up a bit, but that's still going to have 18 eliminated here. Choai can scrape by with a 1-man elimination, lose the round, and, you know, focus on round 5 to bring things back around while having kind of the advantage. But faltering here is dangerous. And if GG is able to make Choai falter, great. But it's, you know, it's not going to be easy for them. But chasing Wildling here could honestly reap some good results. We're going to see Choai turning around, looking for where those ciphers are, and XMX is just happy to continue doing this. This is the thing with Wildling. At this point, the problem here is that Choai also doesn't have teleport. So he needs to kind of stay committed to this target, and XMX's boar running out here, that's, yeah, we're still very much in draw trajectory. Because with XMX being chaired, Cypher is going to be primed by the time that anybody's able to make it to XMX's chair. The main two things that are happening right now is that GG, XMX kited as far away as possible in order to keep Choai contained. That ran out. Now, they're at the gate, which is first not ideal. Second not ideal is that nicely done with the double down. Unfortunately, Choai is going to fall victim to that Cypher pop there. XMX back on the board here, but and missing the blink! Just going to undershoot it there. XMX not quite in range. It was a bit of a misstep here. Unfortunately for GG, a draw is going to... a draw is going to give that victory to Wolves here. Because even if Wolves hasn't... It's best of 5, which means that with GG not having a single win under their belt in terms of rounds, if you look in the corner, they've drawn 2 rounds and lost 1. Winning this round will give Wolves 2 wins, which puts them, in a position where GG physically cannot make up that difference. So I'm 99% certain that win condition is draw here, which is why Kuchao is going for this, because there's really no... they're going in, just all in to get this rescue, and unfortunately it's just not going to go according to plan. At this point we're looking at a 4-man elimination, just because Choai kind of has, Choai knows that both survivors being here means that the gates aren't open, because if the survivors had the gates open, then they would be at the gate, but they're not at the gate, which means that the gate's not open. So Choai really does have free reign. We're just going to go ahead and share XMX here for the win for Wolves. And just what performance though from both sides. And I mean, it's not over yet. Kuchao taking the chase over to a box, but it really is, it's only a matter of time. But Kuchao was actually able to heal here, possibly right before detention. Nicely done with the pirouettes, just to force Choai's detention to run out. Missing both of those dashes as well. But yeah, I'm 95% certain that Wolves has already won here. So right now, this is just being played for the sake of playing the game. But PP Shaw still has not made it to a gate. PP Shaw is just kind of chilling in the center of the map right now. And yup. This is what I love about tournament, is that sometimes they will have fun with it. Because it is, at the end of the day, both of these teams did qualify for Call of the Abyss. There's more stakes, obviously there is like monetary gain to be gotten by winning the tournament. It also kind of puts you at the top of the heart! Wait, that's so cute! Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice. And I mean, like, this is what I'm saying, is that at the end of the day, I mean, like, even when you're paid to do this as a job, I mean, you have to still love the game in order to keep with it. And I mean, it's oh my god. Yeah, it's just so nice to see when teams succeed. I get sentimental over it. I mean, because it's for love of the game. It's for love of the game, and yeah, and good sportsmanship. Drawing the hearts was so cute. But yeah, that is both of these teams did qualify for COA. So this is the last time that we saw them, because by by getting into IVL finals, they were able to bypass the COA qualifiers because by getting into the finals, they qualified for COA. So this is the last time we've seen them. So much has changed in this time. You know, new characters have been released, new characters have been kind of changed. Opera Singer has obviously gone through a bunch of nerfs. You know, a lot is different from this moment 3 months ago and where we are now. But next Friday is when COA starts for real. And so we haven't seen Wolves and GG since this happened. Which is just it's crazy to think about. But yeah, just what a performance there from GG and Wolves. But of course, this stream is not quite over yet. We still have another couple of teams to watch. So as beautiful as that was, I will be taking a very short break just to refill my water and get the next video queued and also fix my scoreboard for real this time. But yeah, just bear with me. I will be right back. You guys as well, get a drink of water, use this time, you know, go take a bathroom break, etc. Get a snack, pet your cat or whatever. And yeah, I will be right back. Coming up next, I will also make an effort to get my words together. But coming up next here is going to be Weibo versus the returning team, I guess, from yesterday, ZS.Lin. So yeah, this is our one. I think this is the only match that doesn't involve either GR or ZS.Lin. So yeah, Weibo coming up next as well as ZS.Lin. Don't go anywhere. I will be back in 2 minutes, and I will see you very, very shortly. All right, and we are back for ZS.Lin versus Weibo. And yeah, the focus here really is on Weibo, because we have seen ZS.Lin already, but we are going to go and take the time and go over both teams. Welcome back from rank. Yeah, I did realize that rank just ended. So yeah. I started the stream earlier today just because I wasn't sure how. Oh my god, and I lied about fixing my score. You guys, I lied. I'm sorry. Whoops. One of these days, someday I will have a stream where I don't make mistakes the whole time. But also I feel like that is just the nature of streaming. You know, it's a live broadcast. There's nothing that I can There's nothing that I can hide. Which is what I enjoy about streaming, truthfully. I enjoy kind of the authenticity of it, because, you know, I can't edit myself, which is terrifying, but it's also, you know, it's fun. I like the unpredictability of it. Yeah, I mean, I would also, you know, for a little bit of context, I mean, I've only been streaming regularly for the past, like, maybe 6 months. I mean, I started streaming last year, but again, I've only been streaming for like a year, and on my own for even less time. So, yeah, relatively new to the whole video art. But yeah, it's part of the live experience. So as pseudo professional as I try to be, it happens. But either way, yeah, I do what I can. I do what I can. Considering that it's just me doing everything, I feel like I'm not doing too badly. But I don't know, maybe that's self-centered. But yeah, I mean, obviously I'm doing something right. Or else, you know, those of you who didn't know me before I started doing this wouldn't be here. So there's that. But yeah, heading into this, we did see ZS.Lin yesterday, and well, you know, there is something to be said, for the fact that they've made it this far to begin with. But either way, we are going to see the return of JXY with that disciple at the top of the kind of list. We saw Opera Singer from JXY yesterday, and I think Gamekeeper, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, so very, you know, the meta is metaing. We haven't seen Liu Ying play yet, but the rest of the team has been very, very... I really do wonder what's happening with kind of those backups. Like 1K here being, you know, default lucky guy. I feel like that's not entirely accurate. But for Weibo, we've got Alex, Iron, Juan, Huiyi, and Long. And with a double coordinator here, for this lineup, but Alex really, really leaning into that Gamekeeper meta. Once again, you know, if you missed it yesterday, the previous match was deceiving. The previous match was very deceiving. And that, you know, that was kind of what we were used to 3 or 4 months ago. Now it's Gamekeeper City. I love how they always they keep focusing more on one team than the other one. I guess that was kind of even. But I remember yesterday I kept getting cut off on the first team and then talking for too long about the second. But yeah, either way, it's I haven't been keeping up as closely with Weibo as some of the other teams, so I'm excited. I am excited. So I don't actually think I even like caught this one at all yet. Some of these I have watched before. Some of these I've caught bits and pieces of because the streams will happen like in the morning and I'll catch it, you know, when I'm at work or before I go to work. But I don't think I caught this one at all. Yeah. So anyway, Yeah, I mean the main thing I think with Weibo is just kind of the evolution of Alex as a hunter, because Alex is an old hunter. I think he's actually one of the oldest people in the sport. Esports does tend to skew very young, just because the recruitment process. The way to get into esports is to just play a game a stupid obsessive amount of time, and once you enter the working world, you don't have time to play a game like that. So the recruitment age tends to be like 16, because that's the minimum I think that you need to be to participate in esports, for like, legal reasons and child labor reasons. But like 16, 17, 18, like that's the majority of, these teams. But Iron here with the coordinator and the seer. Yeah, I think I'm gonna use this to really go through the hunters and survivors here, because it's more reliable than kind of the default overview. But yeah, Iron with the coordinator and the seer. We're going to see Juan with the embalmer and also the perfumer. We have been seeing kind of the edges of perfumer coming back into sort of meta focus, little by little by little. And I think personally, if the reworks, not the reworks, but like the slight adjustments that they made to painter, to perfumer, maybe journalist, but I don't really think so, because journalist was more of a quality of life improvement that should have existed from the get-go, where you can switch the rescue baby to a pallet baby if it's the only baby you have remaining. I feel like we might see, at the very least, more perfumer, possibly more painter. But I feel like because perfumer's already been making herself known, especially against opera singer, the buff to her perfumes is crazy. But moving on to Huiyi, we're going to see that this is the dedicated rescue main of Weibo. We're going to see, interestingly though, Gravekeeper is making an appearance here again, as is Mercenary, but you would expect First Officer, but that's not really the case. Gravekeeper is kind of just still kicking. Maybe not the rescuer of choice in most cases, but still very much kicking around at kind of the middle tier of the meta. Not so much rank meta as tournament meta, I would say, but still, still there. You can still body block very, very effectively with the shovel. And these teams know how to take advantage of that. And finally, rounding out our survivor lineup, we're going to see Long here with the coordinator and the gardener. I feel like a lot of, sorry to like jump back to a previous topic, but I feel like a lot of the parts where I get bad is the virtue of also solo streaming at that. There's a reason there's two commentators, at least two commentators for actual COA. Because doing it on your own is a feat. And yes, I remember this now. ZS.Lin does not have all of their members. Unfortunately, not all their members were able to make it in person to the group stage. I'm not entirely sure why. It's likely to do with school. It also could be due to the commute. Or, any other reason. I think only a couple of their survivors were able to show up in person. But yeah, I mean, they do still have a presence there. We're going to see their coach as well, present, which is a little bit awkward, I feel. But I mean, because I would assume like he's on the phone with the hunter right now. But yeah, that just feels a little bit difficult to navigate. Talking to the empty chair, but I guess it works for the layout of how they do COA, but yeah, it's a little bit awkward framing. But I do like seeing the coaches out. It's very, it's fun to see, and I like when the coaches kind of joke with their team. Sometimes you can see them kind of messing around. It's very fun. I love kind of the professionalisms of it. The Dongshan's back rubs. Dongshan's back rubs are always my favorite. My favorite part, not my favorite part of watching Dongshan, but it's always entertaining. But it does look like ZS.Lin is going to pick Leo's memory here. Weibo is going to ban, it looks like, I think that's Ever Sleeping. Yeah, that is Ever Sleeping. We're going to see round one first half here on Leo's memory. We've got JXY banning Gardener and Coordinator. And our first two, Gardener and Coordinator, Opera Singer. Every time. Interesting, though, that we're going with Acrobat. I feel like that is very likely to take advantage of the factory. Acrobat can bomb over the ledge, or not the ledges, but like the railings on the factory outside, the balcony and the stairs. Acrobat can kind of just take full advantage of that. Acrobat also, I believe, has areas on on Leo's memory that he can bomb over. But yeah, Acrobat is a very, very strong container. First pick, locking out immediately, a little bit risky, but patient as well. I feel like this was just a very strategic pick for Leo's memory, but with such versatile survivors, it can be risky to lock them out right away, but it does mean that Weibo has backup plans. It means this is their dedicated round 1 strategy. They're going to take a different approach coming into later rounds because they've locked out basically 2 of the survivors that fill a similar niche. We're going to see Iron with the... Or not Iron, but, Weibo is going to lock in the Mercenary and also the Seer. JXY not banning Seer, opting to ban Cheerleader instead, leaving that Seer on the table, and that's free Seer. That's free Seer. There was also free Priestess, but over China, Japan generally don't pick Priestess. Japan a little bit more often. We have seen Priestess utilized in China to very ridiculously strategic extents. But yeah, I feel like in this situation, they're not looking for the Priestess. They really want to have that Seer, especially against an Opera Singer. Or the hypothetical Opera Singer that we will likely see once they have finished locking in their Persona webs. But yeah, most likely option here is going to be Opera Singer. JXY could go Gamekeeper, but I feel like Gamekeeper is a risk to go in first round just because if you lose, then, or even if you win, like, they can still ban Opera Singer. So it's safer to play Opera Singer before she has any chance of getting banned than to play somebody else, risk Opera Singer ban, even if you don't play well, or even if you do play well, risk the Opera Singer ban unless you don't play Opera Singer at all. That's a whole other story, hunters that don't play Opera Singer, period. I feel like we might be seeing some of that come in with main stage once people kind of figure out who is a viable substitute, if there is a viable substitute even, to learning Opera Singer, with how much she's been struggling in the meta lately. But yeah, Opera Singer is still continuing to be our first round pick. I really want to see the stats on like percentages of it has to be in like 90% range. There's been across, I think, if you take every region into account, I feel like NAU, Korea as well, I think, was not picking Opera Singer first. I don't recall what Southeast Asia was picking. But there's been a fair amount of instances where Opera Singer hasn't been picked. But for the most part, it's been Opera City. It's just been Opera City. But yeah, there's a reason for that. Despite the nerfs, there is still a reason for Opera Singer to be at the top of the meta, and that is, Opera Singer and Gamekeeper are at the top of the meta because they don't have cooldowns, or they have skills that you can utilize to great success without cooldowns, or at least with very, very minimal cooldowns that activate. Gamekeeper is kind of at the disadvantage at that front, just because Opera Singer cooldown is only 8 seconds, or it's like, I think it's 9 seconds maybe. Point being is that Opera Singer dash cooldown is like done. You really just do not have to worry about sending that skill into cooldown. You do, but you also don't. It's not the end of the world. It can be a hindrance, especially if you have a good rhythm going and incidentally, miss a shadow and go, ugh. But yeah, it's Opera Singer is at the top of the meta because you can spam. End of story. But Weibo is taking a little bit of a precaution here, with double Tide Turner on both the Mercenary and Patient, which that's something that we haven't seen as much lately. We did just see a little bit of that happening in round 1 with GG and Wolves. However, that was back when Opera Singer was hard meta. So Weibo is playing it a little bit safer, which is nice to see. I do like it when teams decide to play it safe and bring double tide. It just brings more insurance. As long as those who bring tide can kite, we are seeing, or if those who bring tide aren't chase first, and we're seeing Long take the first kite here, just using those bombs to maneuver around the shack and the back walls area here. Very nicely done. JXY accidental. Yep, we are going to see that cooldown coming into play here. JXY accidentally, I think that was a shadow into the same area. Tried to double back. Unfortunately, it was not able to reset that way. But yeah, Long really just showing, confidence in this area. We're going to see beautiful owl coming in there from Iron. And that is why you ban, the Seer, because the amount of distance that Long has been able to pull between broken windows coming into play on that pallet vault, that would have been basically unbeatable if JXY wasn't playing, a dash hunter effectively. But almost being able to get that bomb off, unfortunately, just getting caught at the edge of JXY's hitbox. But a minute and a half into the match, Cypher's looking okay. We do technically have 4 ciphers started. First cipher, I guess, was just tapped, but 4 ciphers remaining here. Basically 3 ciphers remaining. We're going to have Rescuer Cipher at about 73%, which is pretty standard for a draw situation. But it is still, it's a draw situation, which is good and bad. The problem is that it's only a draw situation, but the good thing is that, you're not losing right away. And that cipher is continuing to be decoded. Long does have quite a bit of time left on this chair for them to kind of recuperate some of that cipher progress. But yeah, JXY moving away from the chair here, trying to disrupt that decoding just a little bit, but does need to be careful. It does look like Juan's heading for the chair, so Mercenary coming in is going to elbow pad to the chair just to make it in time. Nicely done. Long peeling off, though, not able to get a bomb. I don't even know if he had any bombs left. I think he might have one, if that. But actually, no, I think he might be out of bombs completely. But a beautiful pallet stun. Unfortunately, that is just not going to go to any effect. Long is going to be downed, and that is going to be a 3rd hit. Just to kind of reinforce that fact. We've got final 2 ciphers on the go. Pretty much 1 cipher remaining here, especially by the time that Long is rescued. Oh no, Long was rescued right after half. That's a little bit unfortunate. For Weibo, but I would say they're still in a draw situation as long as Huyi is able to kite for a significant period of time. Already using that first hook here. We've got about 5 seconds left on it. JXY switching targets now, heading for Quan. And yeah, that is going to disrupt the 40% cipher, but they've got another cipher actively being worked on by Iron across the map here. JXY only has Blink, does not have Trump card, did bring full up down, and unfortunately is going to send that dash into cooldown here, trying to switch targets. That, of course, has been communicated. Weibo survivors are on the move now, rotating around the map, trying to just stay out of JXY's way, because once again, just don't get hit. If you aren't near the hunter, they can't hit you, they can't win. And that is exactly what Weibo is doing here. Huyi taking the chase here once again. Still has 2 hooks remaining. JXY does have Blink up though, so Huyi needs to be wary of that. First hit in on Huyi, and that is about 75% cipher progress. With accelerated decoding and all, that will be done fairly quickly. So Huyi should be able to buy enough time here with just the hooks. Nicely done. JXY does have Blink once again, so that's a little bit risky here. Huyi getting down just a second too quickly. And that cipher is primed, but that is not quite ideal. Now Huyi does have a hook to utilize during detention. So for the inevitable detention kite that is going to happen, that is a good thing, but yeah, just a little bit unfortunate that Huyi wasn't able to kite through the pop. JXY needs to go for this hit here on Seer. before Seer is able to get an owl. Really just looking to force the rescue. Iron getting a little bit tight with the timing here. Unfortunately, JXY not able to make it to the chair in time. Hui is going to go down, but that is going to be a Cypher Pop. Once again, we are looking at a draw situation in the first round here. Hui taking the kite, and we do have Blink, and that is going to be a very fast down. Unfortunately, well, if JXY did have trump card, that would be still sent into cooldowns. That would, still be a draw regardless. But JXY still making it across the map, trying to see if Weibo survivors can be caught in the open here. Unfortunately, that gate is open, and Iron and Juan are going to escape for a tie here. So, that was a little close. That was just a little bit close there. But Mercenary taking the hit, obviously can still exit the game. If Seer had taken the hit, that would have been a whole different story. Gate waiting, very, 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 very risky. But it is what it is there. And heading, a draw is a draw is a draw. There's no other way around it. But heading into the second half, we're going to, did we miss the first survivor? Yes. I think, unless we missed more, which we did. Well, regardless, that's my bad with the timestamps. But yeah, heading into the second half here, again, a draw really just sets an even scale here. So with that, it puts less pressure on Alex, but it also puts less pressure on ZS.Lin survivors. They just need to get it to escape. However, ZS.Lin survivors need to get it to escape against Alex, which is pressure in itself. The only thing you need is a draw. However, your draw is against one of the most notorious hunters, if not possibly the most notorious hunter, who is still active, I would say. I mean, there's obviously other hunters. It's like, the big players, Dongshun, Alex, YMM was Weibo's former hunter. He retired. He was also kind of like that level of renown. But you're going up against one of the scariest hunters that China has to offer. But all you need is a draw, right? So it's fine. Not really. That's not really an equivalent playing field, but yeah, big man himself, Alex. Fun fact about Alex, he cosplayed Warden, I think last year, or I think it was like right after the Essence release, but yeah. Alex trivia here, but heading into the survivors, because I completely overshot the timestamp. But Justin as our rescue main here with that first officer coming out over the Gravekeeper. So we do have Mercenary, we do have first officer. But hey, it was a good cosplay. It was a good cosplay. But heading into our next survivor here, we've got Yuan with the Acrobat and the Seer, really looking for that containment. Does look like we've got quite a high containment average here for Yuan. And for the plus side for me, I'm no longer referring to Yuan and Yan during the same match, because Do 5 Yan was yesterday's hunter, and yeah, that was a fun little tongue twister for my already inability to speak. But Guagua here with the very festive Hullabaloo, Acrobat, and Weeping Clown. I do love it when these teams kind of, I feel like Guagua is in homage to Guaji from Wolves, which I do. I love it when survivors name themselves after other after other. It may not be, but I'm gonna kind of hanker a guess in that direction, because there are legacy names that kind of travel throughout, like PP Shah, PPX, and PP Cha. I think are three. I think the original was PP Shah, and then PPX I think named after PP Shah, and then PP Cha, on Japan named after both of those. So I think that's the order. I don't actually remember which order it's in, but I know that there's at least two other esport IDV that name themselves after PP Shaw, the legendary hunter who is now playing Survivor. Yeah, a lot of trivia, a lot of Koa trivia that I kind of have like half baked in my mind. But look at Alex's stats here. Yeah, we've got 100% win rate, 60% for elimination rate, nearly maximum deduction points for that average, 3.6 average eliminations here. It's safe to say that because Alex was playing TIE Hunters last year and the year before. Like, Alex has been playing Naiad very, very passively, and it's been frustrating to watch, but like, you know, Alex was averaging draws, but to have a 100% win rate here, Alex is locked in. Alex means business this year, which is good, which is very, very good. Dongshun, I think, has just been, it depends on Hunter's style, I think, because this meta is not built. What happened with Dongshun, I think, is that he is kind of leaning too hard into Opera Singer. And so getting tripped up with everything else, like he plays Gamekeeper like he plays Opera Singer. And he doesn't play Gamekeeper like he's playing Gamekeeper. Alex plays Gamekeeper like he's playing Gamekeeper. But like just with the aggression that you need, Dongshin's just been kind of getting tripped up by meta, I think, a lot more. It's really kind of the changes in the Hunter meta and kind of the challenges in the Hunter meta as well, with how hard it really is to, you know, master Hunters. Yeah, that is the thing. It's like Gamekeeper is kind of taking that spot of being the like, oh yeah, I can totally do this. But yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate really to watch Hunters kind of flounder in this meta. It's depressing a little bit, especially as a Hunter player. It's like, damn. when even the big names are starting to get a little bit strapped for resources, then it's like, okay, maybe somebody should finally address, you know, the sort of disparity here. But yes, as expected, we are going to see Alex locking in that Opera Singer for ZS.Lin Survivors. We've actually got a very strong team comp. Alex has actually let out quite a few strong players. I feel like the weakest member of this team is, well, Explorer if he's not able to hide fast enough, obviously, but I feel like Dancer, because tight kiting again, well, Dancer can transition kite but to limited ability, which is kind of the only thing that makes her weak against an Opera Singer. But compared to First Officer, compared to Patient, yeah. I feel like, I mean, I don't think Dongshin is not interested, but I feel like, well, yeah, I feel like it's meta, possibly also the team shift. But yeah, Dongshin has not been in top form, and I feel like a lot of Koa kind of rides on that, especially like with who makes it through group stage. I feel like really rides on whether or like where Dongshin is kind of at. But yeah, I really hope that he's able to kind of pull it back together. Because Dongshin in top form is terrifying, and I miss that, and I hope that like he's okay. But yeah, I feel bad whenever Hunters aren't playing well. Because, well, we'll get back to that one. We'll revisit that point. Heading into the second half of round one here, we've got Alex, and just look at the speed here once again. This is where it really gets highlighted who can play Opera Singer and who is, you know, decent at Opera Singer. Who's decent at Opera Singer versus who can play Opera Singer. Alex, unfortunately, getting a little bit tripped up there with the First Officer's watch, but forcing Justin to shake that watch again out of the range of Opera Singer. So, oh, but nicely done, Justin, able to get the third shake of the pocket watch. Alex actually wasting a lot of time on this It's a good waste of resources, but chasing a first officer first is a little bit risky. We are going to get our first hit in there. 12 seconds, 10 seconds on that pocket watch. Alex is about to have blink up, but doesn't even need it. It's just going to go ahead and cut ZS.Lin off, and that is the rescuer off the field. Now, thankfully, ZS.Lin has actually gone with a very, very defensive lineup. Like, this is reminiscent of what we were seeing in IVL, with the triple tide here, reduced to double tide with first officer on chair, but like we've got the triple tide with the explorer as well as patient. We've got broken windows on all three other than the first officer. So yeah, it's a very tanky team comp. It's also a very strong team comp, but with Alex able to kind of take the first officer off the field, oh, and Alex trying to triangulate where the survivors are, edging to the side of the map. Like, am I still going to get tinnitus if I stretch out this far? No, so survivors definitely in factory. Watching in real time, that's actually fascinating. Watching in real time, the way that Alex is kind of sniffing out these survivors is so cool. But yeah, going to just go ahead and break that pallet here. I think he's kind of figured out that they're not really looking to go for this rescue. They're much more looking to just let ZS.Lin sit on chair, which they can do. First officer has a long chair time, naturally, as well as if ZS.Lin might be carrying snooze. I honestly am not sure. But Yuan heading towards the chair here. We're at 3 ciphers remaining, 55% through that third cipher. So good progress. And it looks like Gui actually coming in for the rescue, which is a little... I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Because, I mean, you do have the pocket watch to work with here, but as we're seeing, you know, Alex is just going to catch right up, and then beautiful prediction there. I feel like if you're going... Well, okay, so it goes 2 ways. You can either go for that rescue with Tide Turner, waste the Tide, and then you keep first officer alive for longer, or you go in with no Tide, have Dancer do the rescue, and save the Tide for later. And I think that's actually, it's smart of ZS.Lin to go that route, but I worry if they're going to be able to make it pull off. Alex using the blink to just get through that wall here, but Gui playing with fire a little bit. Nicely done with the discipline on that, though, forcing Alex to go for the miss swing to give Gui enough time to get off the stairs without getting fall hit. That was honestly really good. And Gui is going to be chaired here. 2 ciphers remaining. They haven't really been able to start, but also there is an explorer. And that's key to keep in mind here with ZS.Lin cipher progress. Having an explorer on the team makes it look like, basically right now we have our second to last cipher is at, you know, about 50%. Guagua has just touched a cipher, and is probably planning to get that to 50% before using the password pages. Pretty standard of an explorer to do. But either way, oh, and Alex doubling back directly into that pallet stun. Nicely played there from Yuan. And Yuan is going to take the kite here away from Gui, which is good. Yeah, it allows them to get a little bit more recuperation. It forces Alex to switch targets, which in a sense isn't bad for Alex. Alex, bare minimum, just needs to draw here in order to tie the round, but could very well 3-man eliminate this, especially since they don't have a final cipher started. Guagua doesn't have any pages either, so that's going to be a little bit risky, especially heading into the later stages of this match. We're going to see Alex traveling across the map here, looking for Guagua. The problem is that Guagua is an explorer. So Alex extending out here, looking for the edge of that tinnitus range. He has found it, so he's going to turn back around, doubling back, looking for Guagua here, going for the other side of that tinnitus range, it looks like. Just trying to figure out where that explorer is, but a lot of time being wasted here. We do have teleport. Guagua is just a few feet away, but Alex not quite able to spot him out yet. Going to take this time to break the box. And Cypher is chugging along here. Final Cypher is at about 70%. Alex needs to switch targets here. He cannot spend the rest of this time looking for the explorer. But yep, saw the Cypher shaking, is just going to teleport directly over to Gui. That's a little bit dangerous here, for ZS.Lin. And yeah, that's exactly what Alex was banking on, was Yuan not getting rescued. ZS.Lin survivors trying to focus on decoding, because that was exactly it. He was fine. We could decode, for eternity, as long as A, the cipher didn't pop, B, Guagua had to stay in the area, because Guagua had to stay in the area to give tinnitus. As long as Alex had tinnitus, he knows Explorer's in the area, because there's, no one else there. And I think he may have actually caught sight of Gui decoding earlier and just kind of let it happen to try and bait them into that security, Gui wasn't on the lookout, wasn't conscious of where Alex was kind of paying attention to. There's no way for ZS.Lin survivors to communicate anything other than, Opera Singer's on me, I'm hiding. Like, that's kind of the best you can get. So it was very, very well thought out here from Alex. Kind of deceptively risky. If they're able to go back to that cipher, then things are going to get a little hairy. But as it is, with only, there's 2 survivors remaining. One of them is being slugged. The other one is an Explorer. Explorer can wait here. Explorer may wait. Is the dungeon here is the real question. Oh, Alex very, very close here to Guagua. And it really is just the waiting game. Alex looking, has not quite caught sight of Guagua just yet. In his defense, it is not easy to see an Explorer. It is very, very hard to see an Explorer. And especially as Opera Singer. This is why Opera Singers often ban Explorer, because he can just do this. I mean, if I was more afraid of Explorers, I would ban Explorer, just because every time there's an Explorer in this match, it happens to me. But yeah, Alex just going to go ahead and share Gui now. Oh no, actually just waiting for Gui to struggle free, trying to bait Guagua into the open. Just through that. That is, it's watching slug strategies is always so interesting to me, because it's always so thought out how it's done. Where the struggle happens, where the struggle doesn't happen, how to engineer the struggle to work in your favor. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. But Alex drawing closer to where Guagua is hiding, knows it, smells the scent of Explorer on the air, and is trying to find just where that is coming from. Guagua only inches away here, just hiding inside that bush. Are we going to find? Yes, the edge of the backpack was visible through the grass. Guagua is going to get caught here after how long was that? That has been like 5 minutes of hiding. Just absolutely incredible there. Alex is going to double back here looking for Gui, but both survivors on the run here does force Alex a little bit into a defensive position, unless, yeah, we are going to be able to down Guagua here and go back on the search for Gui. Now, obviously, it's much harder to hide as a female dancer than it is as an Explorer, so Alex does have the advantage now that he's been able to down Explorer, though Guagua does still have self-heal. Playing around this palette here for a moment, and yeah, Gui is not winning that mind game, and that is just going to be a surrender after 9 minutes. What a match there. Just so well played, and we are going to get the pleasure of seeing that 4-man elimination animation once again here. But yeah, Alex really is in top form. I think Opera Singer Gamekeeper meta has just done him a huge favor in just, I feel like he kind of got like a buffer, because I think he almost retired last year, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm like 99% sure that he was leaving Wolves no matter what. But yeah, I mean, he's back. He's very much back. And it's kind of beautiful to see. But yeah, ZS.Lin has quite a few points to make up there. That's going, I missed it, but that's going from a draw to a 4-man elimination. So that gives that gives Weibo a 5-point lead here, heading into just the second round. And this, again, it's best of 3. I hope my stream isn't making you yawn. I am kidding. But yeah, I mean, just going from Alex in the previous meta, where he was just kind of like whatever about it. And in that sense, I do find it very funny that he did cosplay Hermit. I don't even know if he plays Hermit. But it's entertaining to me that I genuinely have no idea what that cosplay is. I think it might be like, it's probably an esports like mascot. That we just okay, you can see that there's esports mascots being drawn in the stands there. So yeah. That's just something that we don't get privy to really on NAU to see from these China players. But I would assume that's a cosplay of that. That's cute. But yeah, it's so interesting to see like kind of Alex scraping it by versus Alex like locking in and really, really pushing for those records. Like, that's just crazy. 100% win rate throughout qualifiers is insane. And just really shows that he's at the top of his form. So yeah, Weibo definitely a team to reckon with. Heading into this tournament. I don't remember which bracket they're in. I think they're in the same. Are they in Group D? I think. Because I don't think they're in Group A. But I know they were in a pretty stacked bracket, if I'm remembering. But I need to take a look at the brackets again. Because I don't actually remember where Weibo is. There. But oh wow, that is a good ephemeral cosplay. yeah, no, that keeps tripping me up too. I keep thinking that Alex is still with Wolves. But it's so funny because I love Choai. Like, Choai is genuinely one of my favorite hunters to watch, and also just in general. But like, I keep forgetting. I associate Alex so hard with Wolves that like I haven't been able to break the association yet. But I think Weibo is. I think Weibo just might be a really good fit for him too. But yeah, I do wish. I mean, as far as I know, I think that some of the Chinese players have a bit of a presence on Twitter, but it's not nearly to the extent that you can find Japanese players on Twitter. So it's not like I can like plug their social medias here. But I do always recommend like following the teams, especially like I think every Japan team is on Twitter, at least extensively. So yeah, I do always advocate, find the teams that you like, follow them on Twitter, because it helps you keep up with them. It helps you kind of put, names to faces and actions to names to faces. They have a lot of, stuff going on. But that stuff's also very active in, China. It's just that, they're on like Weibo social media, which, funny. I do think it's so funny that like Weibo is a team and also Weibo is, the social media platform. Like, that's just kind of crazy. That's just kind of crazy to me. But yeah, heading into round 2 here for ZS.Lin, this is not a fun position to be in. And I mean, ZS.Lin really isn't in any fun positions, as we're going to see over the next couple days. I'm giving them a bad rep, but they were one of the best non-pro or non-IVL teams to come out of the qualifiers. Like, there's a reason that they've made it this far. And some of the social media platform and then team are linked. Weibo is the primary sponsor of the team. The team is owned by Weibo, I think. That's usually how it works. Sometimes teams are named after just like the team that sponsors them. Like Zeta is an esports company. But sometimes esports teams are owned by other things. Like Wolves is actually owned by an English football division, or like I guess soccer, but like, you know what I mean. That's where Wolves is from. So yeah, strange COA teams in high places or low places, I guess, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, getting into the second round here, we're gonna be on Lakeside Village. First 2 bands from JXY are going to be Seer and Toy Merchant. Unfortunately, for all my viewers who love Toy Merchant so much, we're going to see, of course, Aeroplanist, as well as Dancer locked in. So that is, very, very fun here. Mercenary coming in third. I guess not really responding to the Antiquarian ban, but getting him in before JXY inevitably bans a rescuer or two. But yeah, yeah, it definitely makes sense here, especially, I mean, like, from a sentimental point as well, but also from a gameplay point. Aeroplanist is pretty good, especially if the hunter is banning Toy Merchant. You do kind of get a little bit, you don't get the teammate support, but you do get kind of the airtime, at least slightly, that Toy Merchant can use, and a lot of it is more about distance. And yeah, we're going to see Coordinator, ever classic, rounding out the lineup. Coordinator really is just, like, not really surprising anymore, but just such an impressive addition to the meta, especially since her latest kiting buff. It's fun. It's fun to see just every survivor is viable. And on one hand, it's fun. On one hand, it's absolutely miserable if you're looking at it from a hunter's perspective. But yeah, and I mean, you bring excitement for Coordinator, but that means you're stuck with excitement. It puts the hunter in a rock and a hard place. You don't chase Coordinator first, the gun comes to get you at the end. The gun will come to get you pretty much no matter what. Unless the gun misses. And that is also very possible. But, anything can happen. Anything can happen. For JXY here, I mean, Gamekeeper is not a bad choice. I would worry about Disciple a little bit. Hermit wouldn't be terrible. The problem is that it's Weibo survivors. And Weibo survivors are coordinated. And Weibo survivors have been coordinated for a really long time. So, again, you're working with legacies here. You're working with just dangerous survivors. Playing a hunter that can fall victim very easily to a 4-man VC can be just as dangerous as playing a hunter that, you can only really guarantee a draw with. Because Hermit is not a guaranteed draw hunter. Yeah, we are going to go with the Gamekeeper. That's it. That's just the state of the meta nowadays. It's Opera Singer or Gamekeeper. And once those two are banned, God help you. But Gamekeeper has been... I would say we're probably going to look double Opera Singer, double Gamekeeper. Because... I mean, Alex has been harnessing that Gamekeeper very, very smoothly. So, yeah. I hope none of us miss Molten Hound, because I'm gonna place my bets and say there's a pretty high chance we're gonna see at least one Molten Hound. I think Alex may actually play Warren Clothes. If I'm vaguely remember, I think Alex is the hunter that plays Warren Clothes, which would make sense. But like, yeah, it's either every Gamekeeper match is either Warren Clothes or Molten Hound, and it's so, I love it so much. It's so funny to me. But yeah, heading into the first half of the second round here, Weibo has the advantage, but if JXY is able to at least get a draw here, that does put the survivors in a pretty good position to maybe draw? Maybe. A little bit. I'm like shorting out my voice here because I'm trying to go too high, but like maybe just a little bit. It's so, the odds are stacked here. The odds are stacked here, and I mean, this is gonna be repeated throughout COA. I mean, Wolves is in the same bracket as Before You. And as much as I love Before You, Wolves. So, yeah, I mean, I mean, it's not something to be sorry about. It's an objective fact. The best chance that Before You has in that bracket is, oh god, Scars, yeah. Before You being in a bracket with 2 of the 4 teams that were qualified for COA before, actually, I'm gonna circle back around to this point. Let's get back to the match at hand. We're going to see Iron taking the first chase here, which is dangerous for JXY because Iron still has that gun. It's dangerous, but beautiful hook there from JXY right over this area. And this area is such a good spot for Gamekeeper, just because you can hook over all of those kind of wall areas. But heading directly into this kind of maze of boxes that Dancer has set up, Iron has pretty much this whole space to play with. JXY not breaking the boxes here is going to be huge. I mean, obviously it is to try and keep up with Iron, and we're going to blink here as well, but there's just too much slowdown, and that gun is going to come in the slow box as well. JXY getting the extra long stun. And I think that those boxes are actually placed very well right at the corners of the shack here to get the maximum amount of space around the shack and not allow JXY to break them. So yeah, we're getting double box here. JXY still not breaking the pallet, and just with that, we've gotten over a minute into the match, almost 2 minutes in. We're at 5 ciphers remaining still, but that is very quickly going to dwindle. We've got 4 ciphers remaining now. Second ciphers coming up to 80% and 60%. Just so much time that Weibo has been able to waste here. It's just beautiful to watch, even after that early hook there from JXY. But hooking over to the pallet here, and we should be able to catch Iron in the open here. JXY getting a little bit turnaround, but the basic hit is still going to go through. Very nicely done. It was a 2 3/4 cipher kite, I would say. Not quite a 3 cipher kite, even with that cipher passing 75%, because it is, I think that is the cipher that is directly at the chair. So that is just a little bit unfortunate. JXY placing down a trap, it looks like. And yeah, the cipher is being interrupted. Yeah, JXY is placing traps right around the edge of the radius where Gamekeeper is allowed to place traps. But Hui coming in for the rescue, but the hook hits the chair instead. JXY just not quite aiming that hook in the right direction. And Iron's going to be able to make it to the window with that and take the coordinator speed boost. That is huge. That is absolutely huge to Weibo, for Weibo survivors here. Iron unfortunately getting hooked over this pallet, but Hui was able to get that rescue clean. All 3 of the remaining survivors are still at full health. That is insanely big here. Just insanely big for Weibo survivor strategy, because having the reason why a lot of hunters will not wait for the rescue and just go for the basic hit right away, not try to bait it until after half, not try to bait it for a terror shock, just go straight for the hit, is that you can guarantee getting damage on the field. And that's the more important thing in the long run, because right now, Hui is able to go for a second rescue and the cipher's primed. And, there's nothing to worry about. Iron can take a hit here. But yeah, and JXY is just gonna kind of wait and wait. He knows that this cipher is primed, which is it's not a position that you want to be in as a hunter, knowing that the cipher is primed and there's nothing you can do about it. JXY wasting the hook there as well, just going right over the pallet. Beautiful position there from Iron, and that cipher is just going to pop while JXY is breaking the pallet, knowing that he's going to try and get the chip damage in. For a no attack recovery down. Weibo not going to allow that to happen. JXY using the blink again. I feel like maybe teleport would have been the better option. Iron is going to go down, but with no okay, switching to peepers here just in case. Yeah, that's just the safety precaution to try and secure the 1 elimination. But yeah, the peepers switch I feel like was just a little bit of giving up. But that's just unfortunate there for ZS.Lin. Only 1-man elimination there. That means their survivors have to 3 escape to hope to go to round 3. And that's the best chance that they have. With 3 points to Weibo there and 1 point. At the very least, it was not a 4-man escape. And that's really what JXY needed to secure, was that 1-man elimination. That's why he played the endgame the way he did. Worst case scenario is a 4-man elimination. Slightly better than worst case scenario is a 1-man elimination, or a 4-man escape. 1-man elimination, 3-man escape, you're still losing. You're still not in a good position, but it's better than having absolutely no chance at even trying to win this round. Because, miracles can happen. Maybe ZS.Lin will be able to 4-man escape. It's possible. And continue into round 3. But if they're able to 3-man escape, then it's going to be tied going into round 3. If they're able... But yeah, the thing is here is that if you're not able to get even a single elimination here, Iron kited for 160 seconds. That's over 3 minutes, or over 2 minutes. It's just, that long of a containment here. You look at the containment distribution as well. Long didn't even see the Hunter. Huan saw the Hunter for maybe for 5 seconds while placing boxes and rotating out of the area. There just wasn't enough pressure that JXY was able to put on the other survivors because he was contained by Iron the entire time. And that's really where the solo containment can be so powerful. Obviously, teams work as a unit. But allowing one survivor to just kite as long as possible gives Weibo the edge. And yeah, 3-10 here going into the second half of round 2. If you are ZS.Lin here, that's not the most encouraging result to really enter the fray with. But yeah, heading into that, I mean, that's just scary. And then going up against the Hunter that is just 4K'd you, it's scary. It's very, very scary. But I mean, keeping in mind though, this team, ZS.Lin is not a pro team. They were not in IVL. They were one of the amateur teams that was brought into COA qualifiers from, I would say, probably IVT. I don't actually know how they got brought in. I don't know if that was broadcasted to us. But yeah, I mean, there were several. It would have been through, I think, just the actual game itself, I think, is how they were able to qualify. Yeah, so because this is the end of China qualifiers. Not every team here was in IVL. Yeah, so they would have qualified in-game as non-pro teams for COA. But then they have to go up against pro teams for COA. So, yeah, I mean, this is also kind of what happens to NAU, It's because ZS.Lin is a good team. They're going up against professional teams that are entirely out of their, weight class, metaphorically speaking. But they're still an incredibly good team. They made it into this late stage of COA qualifiers. That is a feat unto itself. And so I do feel bad. Because spoiler alert, if you've looked at any of the COA brackets, this isn't a spoiler. ZS.Lin did not make it into COA. So I do feel bad because by virtue of going through the most recent appearances of every single team, you see the losing teams quite a bit. Because basically everybody has to chew through ZS.Lin before they go okay, we've won. So it's a little, it feels kind of beating them up, and I feel bad for it. But I mean, it is what it is. They made it this far, and that is something to be celebrated. Regardless of going up against insane players who have been playing for the past since the dawn of the game itself 6 years ago. Yeah, but that is something that I do want to reinforce, just because it does kind of feel like taking the piss out of ZS.Lin all the time. But you only look it's bad in comparison to Alex. it's not that the survivors are doing anything wrong or that the hunter is doing anything wrong. It's that Weibo is an incredible team. Yeah, like it's because ZS.Lin is a solid team. It's just that. But yeah, we are going to see Alex bringing out that gamekeeper here. It's a pretty good comp, though. I question the professor. I do. Because the problem with professor is that it's professor. There's no way to really, there's no way to really guarantee that the scale goes to much use because you can just not hit. Now, that does waste time. However, Professor is at a second disadvantage. Well, Professor's at both an advantage and disadvantage because I think part of the reason why they would have locked Professor in here is because Professor can tank chip damage. Professor can take one hit of chip damage and be fine. It doesn't affect him. It's a passive skill that is like weirdly unnecessary, but it's still a thing. So I would say that's probably what Guagua has in mind here, to try and take second kite and eat one of the hooks, that would have otherwise done chip damage. The issue is that it's kind of similar to like a puppeteer situation. You don't hit, or you don't take the bait, you don't hit when it's going to be a stun or just, not go to any effect. You let the survivor waste their resources, and then, you can just continue, because if Guagua takes second chase, there's the danger of being hooked, activate the scale, Alex doesn't swing, wait out the scale, hit, you're at 3/4 damage. Guagua does have flywheel, to negate the hook, but you see where I'm going? You just end up building up that damage. All Alex needs is a hook. But it looks like Yuan is actually going to be our first chase here. Alex is taking a very interesting approach here, and I feel like part of this is possible. I mean, it's not really cockiness because, like, he's just taking a very confident approach here. He's not anticipating that ZS.Lin is going to rotate. He's just kind of going straight for the spawn point and trying to catch them before they attempt to rotate, which it's been working. He's been able to get pretty consistent, quick chase results, which is in part due to ZS.Lin survivors not quite rotating out of the way in time. And I mean, it's just, by virtue of Alex as a hunter being so driven nowadays, it's been working really well. But Yuan is going to take a hit there. Alex kind of messing around with the bait, but Yuan doing a beautiful flip off the edge there. Blink is up. We're over a minute into the match here. Cypher progress looking pretty good. Alex is kind of taking his time here, but he does only need a draw. So I feel like he is going to play this a little bit safer, play it a little bit less aggressive, try and conserve his resources so that he can secure a draw. I would say is his goal here, because he could have tried to blink there, but I think he's playing it slow. But that is going to be pretty much a 3 cypher kite. It's like an honorary 3 cypher kite. We're basically at 3 ciphers remaining. Or, 4 ciphers remaining and then a little bit. Or we're actually almost at 2 ciphers remaining. It's a 3 cipher kite. So yeah. Pretty good. But yep, that is gonna be nicely done there from Guagua. That was the hook chip damage being eaten by Professor's passive skill. And yeah, we're trying to scare you on there, baiting out the blink, trying to get you on to fail a blink predict, but that's not going to be the case just yet. Yuan did kind of flinch and use the scale, though, that Guagua had dropped at the chair, so that's a little bit unfortunate for Yuan, and that is going to be our second chair here at 2 ciphers remaining. So we do have 2 ciphers remaining. Gravekeeper can come in for this rescue, though, but I do think Gravekeeper is quite a ways away. Actually, no, Gravekeeper is quite close. Jushin was in the area, so that is going to be pretty good for ZS.Lin here, but they need to aim for more than a draw, and I think that is kind of where things get a little bit tricky. Jushin trying to kind of wait this out. Alex, nice use of the hook to force Jushin out of the shovel, and that is going to be a rescue there with the basic hit. 2 ciphers remaining here, both of them at around 50%. Looking pretty solid here, but Yuan just needs to Kite. We've got about a quarter left in the stick. We're actually going to go for the double down here, hitting Justin. Alex not wanting the shovel to come into play for body blocking. Shovels can be very, very good for body blocking. Alex waiting with that hook. And this is exactly what I mean, where Alex is playing Gamekeeper like Gamekeeper. You see a lot of the time, and when you're watching Dungshin play Gamekeeper, he tends to hook around, kind of mimicking how Opera Singer moves, and then using the basic hit instead of the hook. Sometimes he uses the hook, but he's more apt to use kind of the basic hit. Nicely done on that pop, though, while Alex is still catching up. A little bit slow, I would say, but, nicely done here. Trying to get Alex to miss with the hook. Unfortunately, the wall there is going to get in the way, and Justin just not able to get out of the way in time. Is going to get caught out by the hook here. We're looking at a draw situation at best. Well, they could 3-man this. Or 3 escape, but it's real. That would take a lot. That would take a lot. Or for Justin to, for some reason, be carrying Snooze. Maybe that would work. But the exit gate is open. Gui heading towards the dungeon area, but with a draw here, that's not going to be a win. That is, going to be Weibo qualification. But also, will not go past round 2. But it does look like Guagua is heading across the map towards Justin's chair. I would say it's pretty likely that Justin is carrying Snooze, because ZS.Lin was playing with the first officer's chair time in the previous match. Unfortunately, Gui just not able to get out of the way or keep enough distance with that cheerleader away from Alex. So that is going to be just a little bit unfortunate there. It does look like Guagua is going to be able to make it to the chair, but with the teleport, unfortunately, it's just not going to work out so well for ZS.Lin. Alex all the way back at the chair. It was a little bit risky anyway, because even if Guagua had been able to get the rescue off before Alex teleported, he still would have teleported to the gate, which would have been right there. Guagua is going to get caught out here, and Justin heading towards the center of the map. Alex does not need to care, because this is looking like a 4-man elimination here, unless Justin is somehow able to get to the gate and dodge all of these hooks. Oh, but he actually was able to dodge all the hooks, unfortunately just not able to get out of the way of the basic hit. That is going to be probably a 4-man elimination, unless Guagua is able to hide like crazy and also so we are going to be able to self-heal before Alex makes his way back there, but yeah, at this point, Dungeon is a long ways away. Waiting for the hook. Nicely done with that scale, playing Alex's mind game. But the most that Guagua can do here is, the hook is back up in just a second. Guagua needs to be careful. Alex hitting an obstacle here, and that is going to be it for Guagua right in front of the open dungeon. That is a second 4-man elimination here for Alex, keeping up that 100% win rate, and Weibo is going to be the winner from that. But just, that was a crazy good scale. That was actually, I think that may have been one of the best scales that I've seen from Professor in a competitive scene, because 99% of the time Professor just gets mind gamed out of it. So seeing a Professor actually make that, that's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, that 4-man elimination animation playing once again here, just Alex is really, really heading into his prime. I feel like, or second prime, I would say, because I mean, he's already been at the top. But yeah, just so well played. And what a way to just kind of clean it up in 2 rounds. I mean, that really is what happens. I mean, we were seeing that a lot in qualifiers as well, teams that were just kind of sweeping in 2 rounds. But yeah, I mean, the skill ceiling right now for competitive IDV is like high. It's high. Because yeah, I mean, it's crazy. But I mean, Alex is like more insane than I've seen him in recent years, because he's been playing just so passively. And in the past, and it's like he kind of just got like shot out the gate. How he's been playing in these yeah, he's getting aggressive for once. But it's so much fun to see. And I mean, the fact that he's been able to maintain a 4-man elimination rate, even with the state of the Hunter meta, like Gamekeeper and Opera Singer are really, really doing it for him. But yeah, what I was talking about before is if you watch the way that some of these Gamekeepers are playing, specifically Dongshan versus Alex, if we're making this comparison, Dongshan plays Opera Singer, or Dongshan plays Gamekeeper like Opera Singer. And that doesn't work because, I mean, it works to a certain extent. The problem, though, is that Gamekeeper is Gamekeeper. Gamekeeper is not Opera Singer. If you try to play Gamekeeper like you play Opera Singer, you lose out on a good portion of Gamekeeper's kit. Because the utilization of the traps, the utilization of the hook, just trapping survivors in is huge. And it can be used to just such great lengths. The problem, of course, is when the hook is not really able to be used to the best of its ability. But yeah, just such good gameplay here from Weibo. So many of these teams I'm just hyped to see on the main stage. But yeah, that is about it from me. I will be back here tomorrow at the same time as I was yesterday, so about an hour before now, an hour and 20 minutes, 3 p.m. EST. Obviously, we're going to see Alex get that Best Deduction MVP with the Gamekeeper. I mean, just incredibly played there. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. Let me just remember, I think tomorrow might be TE, actually. Which I know we've been looking forward to seeing. Yep, tomorrow is going to be TE versus GR, and we're going to also see MRC versus ZS.Lin. That's going to be at 3 p.m. EST, about an hour and 20 minutes before the time that it is right now. You can also catch the rest. If you missed part of this stream, I'm going to upload it to YouTube right away so that I don't forget again. So that's going to be up on my YouTube. I'll also link that on my Twitter. My Twitter, by the way, is Lethal Crash, spelled exactly the way it sounds, just like the lizard skill. You can follow me there for stream updates. And yeah, and then Tuesday I will also be back at 3 p.m. EST for HHDG versus GR and the long-awaited GR versus ZS.Lin match. That I feel like, I mean, we're kind of building up to watching them repeatedly. But yeah, I hope you guys had fun today. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys, familiar faces and semi-new faces. And yeah, that's all from me, and I will see you guys tomorrow.